I took tragedy to triumph, which
Wait
is
a second. Did we just go live now?
Yeah. But since
my gosh,
hey everybody,
that's okay.
Since I finally clued in that Elise was actually in like we're live moment, then I finally decided to click to go live. I thought you.
All right. Well, we really are on day 4 of Flip Your Script, bLU Talks experience. So welcome. We're actually already mid-conversation with Lisa Stamper, who is a transformational life coach. Is that intuitive transformational life coach?
Yeah.
And Lisa's just telling us a little bit about herself. I thought we were live, so we had a whole 5 to 7 minutes of chit chat, but I'm sure it'll come up again at some point, during these next 3 hours. So sorry for the interruption, Lisa, but I just saw the live thing. I'm like, all of that wasn't even.
I was like, what is that? All good. Perfect. He's not feeling the best. He's still numb from the dentist, remember?
Did you have that stuff that makes you a little loopy?
No, just a like a big needle put into my mouth on both sides.
Okay.
All good.
Would it have been better if I said that then, Elise?
Maybe, but it's okay. Now it's all about we're good.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so pleased to be here. So like you said, I'm an intuitive life and business success coach. I also am a medium, which I've been able to do since I was a kiddo. I didn't really know what it was, and it kind of freaked me out, but
I'm sure.
I fully embrace it now. So I'm an international speaker and a 2-time best-selling author with our little Business Life in the Universe book that we did. I'm in volume 4, and then I'm in another book as well called Woke. I'm an online course creator and educator and founder of the Soul Aligned Success Strategy, which essentially teaches people how to live a rich, thriving life, all from soul. So we're talking like money from soul, business from soul, relationships from soul, health from soul, and it's completely awesome. I absolutely
it's soultastic.
Yeah, it's soultastic. I love that. That's fantastic. Love it.
Yes, I love the soultastic. We'll chat at the end or later on about the whole soultastic thing. I do love that.
Love it so much. So yeah, so I beat the odds. Like I definitely beat the odds. I'm a definitely tragedy to triumph story. I went through a ton of stuff in my life. I'm a survivor of all kinds of abuse and alcohol and marijuana dependency and abandonment stuff that I came through, and my father being killed in a car accident. So, but
what age were you when he transitioned?
It was actually only 3 years ago. So okay. I was 38, but I was able to talk to him right away because I'm so connected. I knew, but it was still horrific. And and this is part of why I'm so passionate about soul and about being in alignment with our higher power or a higher order, because it can really set the foundation to be able to navigate life, that no matter what comes up, you have a solid foundation that you're able to go from. Because if I didn't have that, I can't say that I'd definitely not be here today.
Well, we would have to chat with you there.
Yeah.
With your dad. You'd be hanging out with your dad right now. Yeah. I don't mean to make light of it, but I have a and I'm sure you can relate, like the perspective for me of transitioning, I call it a transition, is that we're just free of all of this stuff that we get caught up in.
And I got to tell you something that's so wild, because I get downloads all the time. And that was the one thing, that's why I felt really connected to you when I listened to you speak before, Elise, because I was like, oh my God, she gets it. She's real deal. She's authentic. So I really align with that stuff. And
my hair just went up in the back of my neck.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. So, but one of the things that Spirit has been teaching people right now is to take the word death and transition it to transition. And it's so fascinating because I love explaining the mystical or the spiritual and the practical. I like blending it together. And so they actually took me back to like science and thinking about, we go from matter to a gas. And I was like, oh, that's perfect. That's a great way, because energy can never be destroyed. Can never, never, never. So yeah.
Right.
Super
and
fascinating.
So
that
normally,
week.
Say it again.
That just came up in the last week. So it's fascinating that you brought that through, of course.
And I always ask, so what's your dad's name?
Oh, Douglas.
So I'm
Douglas
always like, hey, Doug.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have
him.
What?
I named my baby after him, my son. He's got his middle name. So sweet.
How old is your son?
Oh, he'll be 2 in November.
Oh my goodness.
He's a little ham bone.
Is that your only son, or your only child right now?
Yes, it is my only child. And he actually has my dad's color hair, and none of the other grandkids do. So I was like, oh, Dad, you put in your sprinkle. That's so sweet. Right?
I love it. And so I'm sure Doug is here today too. So, and I'd love to have more conversation about the medium side. I know that I want to talk about the coaching and all that as well. But I know that like when I work with clients and we're dealing with the fact that, joy and grief live on the same, they're first cousins. They're first cousins, because you wouldn't have so much grief and sadness if you didn't have that much love and joy. You wouldn't really care.
Absolutely.
It would be like, whatever. And I'm always like, so what, what's their, what's your father's name? What's your mother's name? What's your child's name? And when you have that relationship, and I'm sure you experience personally and with your clients, like, it's amazing because it changes the perspective. Like, nobody's gone. They're actually, I always talk to my dad. His name's Marty. And I'm always like, okay, you have a way better view than I do. You have the drone view, right? You have the aerial view. You can see things and understand things that I can't see from where I stand. Absolutely. And if I don't know what to do, I'm always like, Dad,
100%.
Whatever. Make it happen.
Absolutely. Love it.
So, okay. So anyway, enough about Doug. Sorry, but he took center stage right there.
Okay.
So, okay. So you help people align with their soul.
Yes, essentially. And it's, like I said, it's really aligning with that higher power, allowing inspiration and truth to come through for people. So I'll give you an example. So many people think A plus B equals C. This person is doing this in business, so that means if I do it too, this is what I'll get. But really, we all have our own flow and our own way. And what's really coming on board right now on Earth is this new paradigm going from force, push, struggle, strive, exhaustion into a more feminine, receptive, allowing, expanding, that kind of thing. And it's happening more and more, and we're craving more freedom, and we're craving time freedom and emotional freedom and financial freedom, so we can do things that we love doing. And what we talked about before, and I don't think that was on the live part of it, but it's doing things that we need to do to fill our soul. And I'll give you an example. So I was really called last Friday, about a week ago, and I've been hearing it for about a year and a half, to go to the beach, go to the beach, go to the beach. So I did, and I take my son there, and et cetera, but it never filled me. It never filled me as much as it would be going myself. So I went by myself, and I had 6 hours to myself, the first time in 2 years, because I had a baby and COVID, right? So you don't get to do the usual, you don't have the usual supports, don't get to do the usual things. And I got to tell you, when we listen to those deeper yearnings within us, because we know the way, like we are guided all the time. And it's getting our ego out of the way, putting our mind aside, and actually taking those aligned action steps that will propel you forward. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because I had been sitting on tasks that I had been guided to do, but for like 44 weeks, I was just like, I'll get to them when, but I just didn't have the energy to do it. I didn't have
the inspiration.
Yes, I didn't have anything left to give. And I know to always follow the inspiration, wait till it comes. So then you're not forcing and pushing, right? And I got to tell you, I came back from those 6 hours with only the intention of going because I needed this alone time. And I came back, and on Saturday and Sunday, I wrote 2 sales pages. I wrote welcome email sequences. I did a whole bunch of crazy stuff that should have taken me a month to do in 3 days. And it flew through me. Like, it's so wild. And that's part of what I teach, is really filling yourself, coming from the deep, nourished place from within. So then we can serve from that space. We can show up to life in that space, because part of the old paradigm of the push, force, struggle, strive is also lack and scarcity. And that's why we think that we have to do those things in order to, like, we have to work really hard in order to get what we want. But that's not what's true. So it's just dropping into the allowing and the flow and the so gorgeous.
I'm always like, if it seems easy and fun, do it.
100%. Absolutely. And it's really fascinating how we're being called for more play and more freedom and more fun because we need it. I literally wrote down from a coaching session that I had with somebody about an hour before we hopped on here, is alone time equals new inspiration, and the freedom, the alignment, the recalibration to then come back whole. Does that make sense?
Yes, for sure. And one of the things that I even found for myself, I've been a serial entrepreneur. I've been a serial solopreneur my entire life. Like my brother-in-law just asked me, have you ever worked in an office in your life? And I'm like,
Ooh,
never.
I love that.
Never. Like, I've never sat in a cubicle. I've never sat in an office, never done any of that kind of work. It's always been creating as a brand architect, startups, and that kind of thing. But one of the things is really challenging too, like, especially as a business coach, what I find with people who are entrepreneurs is recognizing that it's okay to play. Like, that's why you're doing what you're doing. So you don't have a 9-to-5. So you don't have to sit there and answer to someone else. But I was finding myself having to sit at a desk and having to get things done until I recognized there's an art of being a solopreneur. There's an art of being independent. There's an art of being a business owner. And you can, like, right now, I happen to be set up, with my screen. But the truth of the matter is, if I was at the beach right now, like, I would be, live from the beach.
100%. Yeah.
So it's finding that balance and play. And we tend to, and Corey, I'm sure that you get this too, especially, with the coaching that you do, is if it's too easy and it's too fun, we put that on hold. Like, we tend to say, well, I can't do that right now because that seems too fun for me, or too playful, or too easy. So we put what's really important from a frequency, energetic standpoint, the vibration that makes the change, we put that to the side.
Yes. And that is the very thing that will propel you. Sorry, Corey. That's the very thing that will propel you to next level.
Yes. So I love that you help people connect to that, because that's where the magic happens.
100%.
That's where the change happens. That's where global change happens.
Yes. And Spirit gave me a great analogy the other day. And it's like, if you think about it, kids laugh 70 times a day or something. And the study is like adults laugh 5 times a day. Well, it's because they freaking play and they allow themselves the freedom and the joy, right? We got to bring that back in so then we can come from a nourished, fulfilled space. So then we can move forward. Absolutely. And part of it.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interject. I was waiting to see. I wanted to try to jump in between, but I'll let you keep going. Sorry, Lisa.
No, go. You go. I'll chat after.
I was just going to add in that I think the other thing, because I'll be the devil's advocate a little bit, is I feel like it's a guilt thing. Like, we feel guilty if we're playing as an entrepreneur, but at the very same time, we're almost taught to feel guilty if our work is our play. So you hear all these people say, well, he's a workaholic and, he never has any fun. But, like, give you an example, 2 examples actually really quick. One is I heard David Foster being interviewed by Darren Hardy with Success Magazine one time. And Darren said to David, what's your play or whatever? And David Foster said, I feel guilty because everybody's like, you don't go to the beach, you don't do this. And he was like almost feeling guilty that he works so much. And Darren said, well, what lights up your world? And he said, well, when I'm in the studio with Celine Dion and we just cut this track and blah, blah, blah. And Darren said, that's the thing. Your studio is your beach. Stop feeling guilty. You are on vacation.
Yes.
You are doing what you love. And then it made me think of Seth Godin. Talking, I don't know if you ever heard the Seth Godin quote, but he shared this story.
Isn't it the Magic Cow, or doesn't he have that book?
He has the Purple Cow.
Purple Cow.
The quote he said he was at a beach one time and he's working on his laptop and it's like Monday morning and he's checking his blog. He posted his blog every day and he's on the beach posting his blog each day. But he wasn't on vacation. He just went to the beach. He just went there for a month to work. And he heard this couple walk by and they said, oh, that poor fella. He comes on his 2 weeks vacation and all he does is work. And he responded in his head, that poor couple, they wait for 2 weeks a year to actually finally take a vacation. Why don't you set up a life that you don't have to escape from? Was his response.
I'm in Maine right now in my RV traveling at the beach. I'm going on an oyster tour because I met these oyster farmers and I want an oyster farm at our retreat. So we're doing this at a brewery. I met him because I took my e-bike to get fit, and I'm still working. People are like, oh, well, you're going away. I'm like, there's no away for me. I'm home. My office is with me. My home is with me. My play is with me. And I've been working remotely with my clients for years, way before the pandemic, because I need to walk my talk as a coach. I need to walk my talk as a speaker. I need to live the life that I am teaching and helping other individuals create for themselves.
100%.
And so I'm really inspired by you, Lisa, where you're like, oh, I came down and I had the download and I wrote the program and I wrote all that. I had spent so much time feeling guilty or badly, or looking at myself going what's going on? Why don't I have these programs out there? Because that's not my jam. But when the retreat came and I was able to create a destination for people to have experiential experiences themselves and live that fun and live that joy and find that those perspective shifts in real time, that's where things started growing. So it's about finding what works for you.
Yes, on all levels. It's following your freaking heart. That's all you need to do.
Say that again. It's
following your freaking heart. That's all you need to do. But that's it. That's it. That is it. We have our musings. We have our desires. We have all of those things in us because they are for us. Literally, we wouldn't be given the visions. We wouldn't be given the desires. We wouldn't be given those things if we weren't meant to have them. And we've been taught, especially growing up in a North American society, that work, or it has to be harder. You have to work long hours, or you can only get Fridays or Saturdays and Sundays off. And then, you have to sacrifice this to get this, where it's just not true. It's just a belief that we bought into from what we're taught and what was passed down as children of, we have to put other people first, always. You always have to put other people first. You come last, your needs don't matter, whatever it is. Especially for women, we're expected to take care of all these people and juggle 10 million things, where really, if, the airlines have it perfectly correct, if we don't fill our oxygen, we need our oxygen mask. You have to do that first, and then everything gets to explode. I never would have thought that my life would be the way that it is, but it is because you follow your soul, you follow your heart.
And what are your thoughts around balance then, Lisa? And again, didn't mean to interject. I always try to read whenever the conversation is ended, but they sometimes overlap. But
you sure you didn't have that gas at the dentist?
Yeah, maybe that's what it was.
You're normally so on point.
Well, who knows, right? I might be off a little tick, probably. One thing you said makes me think of Lisa Nichols, about the putting the mask on first. And I said to her about the idea of having your cup full. And she said, Corey, you're not ready. At least you've heard me share this before, but Corey, you're not ready to fill your cup when it's full, because then you're depleting your cup again. It's only full. You need to have your cup overflowing into a saucer before you start filling to somebody else, because you can't, if you're only at 100% and you start giving, You're now less than 100. Well, you want to stay at 100, so it should be overflowing. But what I was going to ask you about, both of you actually, your thoughts around this idea of, we always say, how do you get balance? And to me, I'll say first, as an entrepreneur, to me, balance is whenever, what Elise said, you love what you do so much, you don't actually say, I'm stopping working and I'm starting life, or I'm stopping life and I'm starting working. To me, that's balance, because I don't think we're ever going to get 50-50. I did 50% of my work. Now I'll start my 50% of my fun time. What are your guys' thoughts around balance? I think it's different for an entrepreneur, perhaps, than a traditional employee that goes 9 to 5. But what are your thoughts around balance? Like, do you think there is such a thing as balance, or do you think balance is overlapping in the fact that you love what you do at all times?
So what I think balance is, and actually I've just created this thing called productivity from soul, because it's balance. And it's funny that you say that, because I was going to talk about balance before, and then I kind of got off topic and forgot. But what truly balance is you need to figure out what is important to you in all life areas, on all the little family, friends, social, like, it doesn't matter what it is, but if it's important to you, then those are your little nuggets that you then got to all fit in and fill up. So then it's not just, even if you do work you love. For myself, I've chosen to only work part-time and create a great income, so then I can spend time with my family, so then I can travel, so then I can speak wherever I want to and do all the things and serve all my people from a laptop lifestyle. That's my choice, because that is something I truly desire in my heart. And so I don't feel like it is an A plus B equals C linear thing. I feel like it is whatever is right for you. Figure out all the things that are important for you. And then literally what I do is time block it. I time block it, and I'm like, okay, I'm allowing this for this. This is for this. This is for this. So then things don't go by the wayside, because it's really easy to all of a sudden let things slide. It's really building that foundational alignment practice of, these are things that I want. I'm going to have this into my schedule or figure it out this way, because that is what I need to do to keep on track. That's what I feel like balance is for me.
Right. And so I'll infuse what balance is for me, and then we'll have 3 different perspectives. So I'm going to make a food analogy. So the umbrella brand, because I'm all about creating these brands, is called Yum Life. YUMLIFE. And that's finding the umami of your own life, right? That sweet spot, that balance. So I see everybody as being their own signature dish.
Yes.
Right. So as opposed to me, I like stews, I like soups when things marry together and the flavors all come out. So for me, as opposed to blocking time out, I'm a big intention setter. Like, if I can see that, if I can get really clear, I call it, if it could fit on a bumper sticker, then I've actually gotten to the root, like to that, like the sauce of it, right? So once I figure that out, I can tap into the source, and I let the universe take over the rest. And what I do is I follow the inspired thought, and I just take action. I don't talk about it. I don't question how crazy it sounds. I take action. I take inspired action. And to me, those are the steps. That's the universe guiding me, as crazy as it might seem, to how things come together. And they might not come together right away. Like, I've been working on these smart communities, the future of innovative neighborhoods, for years, way before all of, my whole mindset architect life coaching. And now it's all coming to fruition in a crazy way that I would have never anticipated, starting and buying an old motel and turning it into an everyday retreat and using it as this foundation, and recognizing that's where I am contributing. That's my purpose, is to create places where people can have experiences. So everybody has their different alignment. And it's following that gut cue.
It's following the inspired action. Yes.
And it seems too fun, and it seems too easy, right? Like, this is like what I hear. Yeah, but I can't do that yet because it's too fun. Eat your dessert
because
first.
We've been conditioned.
Dessert first.
Yes.
Right. And if you can look at the fun stuff, going to the beach and, just like going off on a whim and doing something that's not in that plan that you have, that's your dessert first. And that's where the magic happens. That's where things start to show up from nothing.
Yes.
And that's for me. That's where I find my balance. And there's conflict. There's internal conflict because it's not really the way it's supposed to be as this. And I interview a lot of people. I meet a lot of amazing thought leaders who do it a very specific way. Corey, you know this. When I came to San Diego, I was having such a challenge because my fiance was like, do you want to like practice your your talk with me? And I've been speaking and running clubs and support groups forever. And I'm an improv speaker. Like I get up and I improv, and I had such anxiety thinking that I had to like have this talk written and know what I was doing. And when I let that go, Corey can tell you, like I knew my content, I had my intention, and I got up there and I nailed it, but I had nothing written. I didn't practice anything. And that's where I did my best. So
yes, because that's following your flow. That's following your own flow, which is all we just need to do. It's not a cookie cutter.
But don't you find that sometimes we compare ourselves? I'm like, there's going to be all these other speakers up there. Usually I'm running my own show, but I wasn't on stage with all these other speakers before. And I'm like, but they're doing it this way. And now I have to. And it just didn't feel right. It was awful. I'm like, I'm not doing this. And then I was like, forget it. I'm just going to do it my way.
And that's all you need to do. That is 100% what keep people stuck is like, oh, this person made $1 million, so I have to do it this way. And then it doesn't work. Well, because they're not following Spirit is downloading a book to me right now. And it's a success code is what it's called. And it's Success from Soul. And it is be, do, have, right? Like it's being yourself is all you need to do. And what's wild is when I coach people, they don't remember often what it's like to be themselves because they've overgiven themselves so much to other people. They're tapped themselves dry. They don't even know things that they enjoy or like doing anymore. Right. So it's
exactly spending so much time trying to get rid of what they don't want that. Yes. Flip your script. That's why I created these bands, because people were like, my clients were so focused on what they didn't want. When I asked them what they did want, they kept telling me what wasn't working. And I'm like, I'm not asking you what's not working. I'm asking you what you want. Like and it was so hard. So I wanted to create a reminder that just flip your script. If you keep talking about what you don't want, at least stop for a second. Gorgeous. And start thinking about what you do want.
Gorgeous.
So when you work with clients, there's two big questions. My one question is, did you have an aha flip your script moment, like where your belief and your perspective shifted from all of this trauma that you were going through and all of this stuff that was happening?
100%. Everything in my life was stripped from me. I went through the proverbial dark night of the soul, but I knew that it was for me. Do you know what I mean? But that was the turning point. It was like, excuse me. It was like, I was always intuitive as a kid. I didn't know what it was. It freaked me out, blah, blah, blah. I went through all this tragedy. Everything was stripped from my life, but it was stripped so then it could come from a foundational place of me being me in alignment, not being apologizing anymore, showing up, doing me, doesn't matter what other people say, and being in alignment with myself, with my truth, with knowing that, taking what I'd been through, and instead of wallowing in it or replaying it or focusing on what I don't want, because then a practical law of the universe is what you focus on comes to you, right?
Whether you want it or not.
Whether you want it or not, we're creating all the time, whether we know we are or not. And we can tell the quality of our thoughts by what is showing up in our life.
That's why I so appreciate that you show up in my life, because you're a message that we're on the right path, Corey. That's how I see it. I'm like, every time I meet somebody amazing, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to keep.
And I just got goosebumps as confirmation. So there you go.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm in the agreement and on the same page in terms of that idea that we like, and still around that same theme, we beat ourselves up trying to be somebody else or what somebody else did, or like we said, this is the way they did it, so we have to do it. Like you said, here's how we make $1 million, so I have to do it too. And it makes me think of two of my things that I did over the years. One, for instance, when I launched my podcast, what I did was I actually had a newspaper previous to that, and I brought a lot of those clients over to be sponsors on our show. And so the first month before we had any listeners at all, we brought in around $25,000 in sponsorship. And, and that's for a podcast. Not a lot of podcasts make money. So to already be at that level before you're even getting listeners, I thought was pretty cool. And I was telling people that were saying, oh, I need to monetize my podcast soon and all this. And they said, and I told them how I did it, though. They just say, how did you do that? And I told them that basically, look, I offer packages like $300 for 2 months, but you don't just get a spot in the show and a mention in the show. We're also going to do this, this, and this. Like, I'm going to promote you live. I'm going to promote you on Facebook. Back then, you could put links on the things. So we're going to put your website on and all that. And I had people say to me, you can't do it that way. That's not how John Lee Dumas teaches it from Entrepreneurs on Fire. And so then I got an interview with John, and he said, I heard you monetized your podcast early. How'd you do it? And I told him, he goes, dude, that's brilliant. I love that.
Yes.
And I said, people told me I'm not doing it the John Lee Dumas way, so I'm not supposed to do it that way. He goes, who made that rule up? I didn't read that book. So, but the funny part is everybody, because John was the first guy to basically, that people knew of, to turn a podcast into $1 million business within a year. Everybody said, you got to do it the John Lee Dumas way or not at all. And here's what happened. The end result of that, and I had Kate not that long ago, which is his partner, and brought this up, is that's all people, when we started, they were all trying to cut up John Lee Dumas podcast. So even their interview style, like John asked 12 questions and he would say, let's give us, like Elise says, the mind seats. He'd say, let's give us some value bombs. So then people started saying, what's your knowledge nuggets? They just changed the wording, but they were still being John Lee Dumas light. And guess what happened? 2 and 3 months later, all those shows dropped off and disappeared.
Right.
But he was doing it the wrong way, 11 years later, still as a podcast. And
it was his way. It was his unique, authentic way.
His genius.
It was his way of doing it. And I found a different way, and both worked, and neither one was wrong. But it's funny, it's the point of what you guys are both mentioning. It was funny how many people right away said to me, well, you're not supposed to do it that way. And then to finish that off, when I started speaking and I was getting paid early on, I had other speakers say to me, oh, you're not supposed to be getting paid this early. Do you want me to go and give the money back? I don't understand what you're saying here. But they're like, well, you're not supposed to. And I said, well, show me the rule book. Show me the rule book that says that, and I'll give the money back. They're like, well, I just mean you're not supposed to be able to do it. But why? Who wrote those rules? So the point is, I think too often.
So it's right in your soul. So that's where the whole soul-tastic, or I just use the term but the I love it. Connecting with your soul comes in, because it's your soul way. Really, it's your soul way.
Yes, it's your unique. I like
that too. Your
genius.
Like, actually, Marnie said, what a soultastic interview. Just that, so the word is already catching on, just so you know.
Thanks, Marnie. Listen, we'll just, put that in the whole coin the word, I'll just brand y'all. Come on over. You need your term, your whatever. What do they call it? Your coin, slogan? Your whatever.
Logo, slogan. Tagline.
Your slogan,
but I think you're soultastic anyway, Lisa. So there you go.
Oh, thank you. Well, funny that you say that, because Soul Aligned Success Strategy came to me in a download. Like, it's not something that was forced. It came through and then it exploded. It took off like crazy. Of course it does, because we get the idea, which is what the inspired action is, and then we move forward. And here's the thing. It's not that we're not scared. We're scared. We have fear, but we do it anyhow.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, that's a great quote. Feel the fear and do it anyway. And I want to put this up too. Marnie is saying that she wants to, once we share how people can connect with you, she wants to be able to connect with you possibly for a reading. So I just want to put that out there. It's just so we don't.
I want one. I want one too.
Yay! Oh my gosh. Yeah, that'd be so fun. I love it. It's so wild, because when you work with spirit, you get results so quick. And that's what's different from my coaching to other coaching, is we really let spirit lead the way, because we always, I love that you talked about intentions before, at least, because everything I do is from intention. And I did big intentions before, we came on this show, and we always set the intention for the highest good, greatest interest, most amount of healing. And that it really truly is authentic and genuine and full of integrity. And I
love the word integrity. Difference. Integrity, big word.
Huge.
Awesome. So where can we find you?
Oh, awesome. So on my website, www.lisastamper.com, it's literally like a stamp, er.com. I'm also on Facebook. I have a Facebook page. I can give you all my credentials if you want. I'm on Instagram, all the usual places.
You'll see. I think you got some friend requests from me. I liked you. I followed you.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yay.
Now.
Love it. Love it.
And if you can put that in the comments too. I know, Corey, you've shared this interview, you share the live with all over the place, but I know for sure for the Blue Talks Flip Your Script group, it would be great if you can put it in the comments there, how people can find you, because they do, people come back, they watch the replay, and I know that they're going to want to reach out to you and be able to tap into some of their soultastic ways of being as well.
Gorgeous. I would be honored. I'd be honored. And that's one of the things that I just wanted to say, that, your past doesn't have to define you. Like I said, I beat the odds. It shouldn't have been possible. Like kind of what Corey was talking about. That can't be done that way. Right. But I'd love and be honored to show you how.
Yes. I'm going to be reaching out for sure.
Yay. I'm excited.
Yes. I'm always down for a reading. I'm good. I'm like easy and effortless. Like that is my theme.
Absolutely. Love it. Love it.
Yes. Any insight I can get from places that I don't even know exist, I'm in.
Right. So wild.
So I know
we can do it live.
Oh my gosh. I do it live all the time for people. I'd love to do it live. Let's do one.
I'm going to bring you on a Flip Your Script Friday.
Yes, please.
And maybe we could do like a live reading, and then we could do like a tapping session. You could pick something we can clear, and we could do this interactive thing.
I'm in. Let's do it. 100 billion times in.
All right. That's awesome. Corey, you can pop in if you want, or you could just watch from the sidelines.
Yeah. I'll figure it out. We'll circle back and I'll figure out which way we do it.
I even do it for big groups. It's wild.
Oh, that's cool. Well, and I was going to say, Elise, you always I know we have our next guest backstage, but we still have a couple of minutes. So Elise, I didn't know if you want to ask about the mind seed question you always ask.
Well, I mean, I feel like I got them. From what I pulled is follow your heart. I mean, that's a good mind seed. But so I do ask our guests. So so I believe that we have these mind seeds and thought weeds. The thought weeds are these weeds that take up all the space and keep us from growing the life that we love and love ourselves in. And then we have these mind seeds that if we could focus more on those as we're flipping our script and plant these seeds of perspective and intention, do you have a seed of a perspective or intention, as I call it, that if one plants it in their mind?
I love that. And I also love your analogy, like the seeds and the weeds. I love that. So thank you. I'm actually going to adopt that and use that to help people, if you don't mind. I love that.
Absolutely.
So I will absolutely give you credit, because I also think that that's important too. But being your authentic self, not caring what other people say, but really truly embodying all that it means to be you is the key. That is the key. It is the key to all the things, to the success, to the happiness, to the money, to the love, to everything. And that doesn't mean that things won't come up, because of course we're going to brush up against like limiting beliefs and some weeds that will come up as we step into our light and our remembrance and our knowledge. But that's okay. That's why you can have different supports to help to guide you through that. But really, it's just
call Lisa. She seems like a great support.
Oh, I love you. Thank you.
For sure.
But it's really just be yourself.
It's true. But you know what? So here's a tip that I'm going to give you all, like how to know, like if you're stepping into your authentic self. I call it free falling into the land of WTF. When you feel like you're going to jump off a cliff into the land of WTF, you're probably stepping into your authentic self.
Yes. And do you know what's so wild for me?
I didn't say the F word, Corey.
Oh, I love it. Oh, but see, I also swear a lot, so I'd be okay with that.
I do too, but now I'm respecting our platform.
Love it. Love it. Okay. Love it. It was funny because I kind of felt into that a little bit, and I was like, no, this isn't quite the place. But one of the things is that what I really feel the biggest breakthroughs for people come where they're like, I can't.
Free falling into the land of WTF. Just jump.
Just jump. Just freaking jump. Just jump. I got goosebumps everywhere just saying that. And
it's true. Like a lot of clients, and I'm sure you guys both see the same thing, like, especially when I'm working with chronic pain, clients who are just in chronic pain, and we're getting to the root of like what's happening. And they have a relationship to this pain. There's something that they if they let go of it, then they're going to lose something else that they don't even know that they have. And they're holding on. Maybe their relationship with, I had this one, I'm just going to be really quick because I know we have to go, but I had this one client and she had MS. And when she got MS, the relationship with her husband got way better. He used to travel. He used to be there. She was on her own. But when she got MS, he stayed home more. They spent more time together. And she even said it to me. She goes, like, actually, I don't even want to get rid of it because I like the relationship I have better with my husband now. We work through it. But I mean, that's key. So think about that too, you guys. Like, what are you holding? What is the connection that you think you're going to lose if you let go of what's uncomfortable and really you're managing the crap in your life?
Because so many people get comfortable with their discomfort because it's what they know. They're scared to take the leap.
Or there's a connection. Did something get better in your life? The crap
I love
feel?
that. Mm-hmm.
You know, and I mean, it's interesting to see what keeps us connected to some of this crap.
Brilliant.
Love it.
So on that note,
Lisa, this has been an absolute pleasure. I knew it would be.
Thank you.
And I want to call it, I mean, this is my normal thing, but it is truthful, is I want to call it a to be continued. Lisa's already started to make arrangements to make sure it's a to be continued in general.
Yeah, for sure. We're
yeah, I mean, I can leave you two to circle back and coordinate stuff on the outside in, but I definitely want to bring you back on, Lisa, whether it's for this or one of my other platforms. So, I mean, I love your energy. I love what you're doing. I love what you're teaching. And I love that you and Elise just took the what do they say, the horn and ran with it, you know, while I'm dealing with my apparently being gassed up at the dentist that I don't remember. So,
you look like you're feeling better.
Yeah, I feel like I am. I totally do. So yeah, but thank you for both running with it. This has been fantastic. And we'll let you run, Lisa, so we can bring our next guest on. But again, I just want to thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm excited to see all the things that come from this. And just so you know, Elise, Lisa does do readings and share them inside the Blue Talks author group. So I don't know if you're inside the author group yet, even though you're going to be an upcoming author. So we need to get you in.
I am. Can I just do an audio?
You can if you want.
Oh my God, you're amazing. Oh, why don't you just transcribe it? Transcribe your audio. Go get a little app and transcribe it, and then that becomes the book.
Okay, I'm going to do that.
Oh, there you go. There's your little tidbit. And I'd be honored to come on. I love working with you guys. You guys are amazing. So many blessings.
Yay,
awesome. Thanks so much, Lisa. You're the best.
Thank you.
Give your little boy for me.
Oh, I will. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, and I want to talk to you about your retreats too. We'll chat.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I'll post some information too in the comments. I might as well. I talk about it enough.
Gorgeous.
Awesome. Very cool. Thanks so much, Lisa.
Bye. Thanks, guys.
And I'm going to bring our next guest right on, just so we maximize time today.
Are we live? I have a question. Are we live in Blue Talks? I don't see it in here.
I do on my side.
All right, wait. Let me just go ahead.
So the answer is yes, we are.
Okay.
And I see it. It's just I don't know why it does it sometimes, but like it's you sometimes have to push it up to the top, which I did. I pinned it at the top, but I think for different people, it shows differently for some reason. I don't know why that is. But for me,
I see it now.
For me, it's showing up as the very top thing.
Yeah, I think you pinned something up top. It doesn't matter. I got it. I just want to share it on my page.
Okay. I'll let you do that. So we're going to bring our next guest on just so we maximize time. As Elise knows, I have to leave 15 minutes early today, depending on if we finish early or not. But so I want to just keep motoring through and bringing our next guest on and making more magic happen. So Jenny, so exciting to have you here today. And Jenny, my first question is, because I know through email and correspondence that way, and I'm going to pronounce your last name wrong probably, but I just see it as Jenny, and then is it you?
You is my last name. Yep. You might see my middle name. My
like
middle
you.
Name yeah. Like you. Yes.
Yeah. I see your middle names here, but I haven't seen them ever before. So I'm used to Jenny you. Is that cool?
Yep, of course.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure I had it right. So Jenny, so excited to have you here today. And Jenny, what we usually like to do, we jump right in by getting the guests to tell us just a little bit about themselves. And I always say you don't have to worry about how little or how much. If you just want to tell us just a little bit, that's cool, because we'll dive in deeper anyway.
Yeah, we're gonna ask questions.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna dive in with questions. But just to get us kicked off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, just for those that might be discovering you for the very first time today?
Yep. So good morning, everyone. I'm calling from San Francisco. I am in right the heart of San Francisco in California. I am a daughter first most. I am a daughter of my mother and 1 out of 5 siblings. And I love doing community work when I am not with my family or with friends. By business, I am a financial planner. So I enjoy having conversations with people about how to use money in their relationships to live more optimally and not let it hold them back, which unfortunately is something that I see a lot. But I love eating. I love traveling. I can eat a lot when I'm not focused on a project or doing anything. So if any of you guys love to
I like eating and traveling too. Maybe we'll like do this hike through Italy together. I don't know if you saw Sylvia, one of our guests.
Yes, I was on. Yeah. And then Italy actually I have some new friends that I made there from a last trip I went out to Paris. So on a tour, I met some people from Italy. So I promised them I'll be back, but I have not been because of the pandemic.
All right, well, we'll chat.
Yeah. So that's a little bit about me.
Oh, I love that. That's so fun. So now we know like more that we should ask those questions. Like, what's your favorite food?
No, I take that back. I love Japanese food. And I love, I don't know if you guys know what hot pot is.
Yes.
Okay. So that's always like a different one for people. But yeah, you throw everything in and you pick a flavor. Yeah. So I love hot pot and I love.
Crack the egg on top, right?
You can do that. Yep. There's many different forms, but I love hot pot in it. But I love eating in general. Like I think eating is a way to connect with people. It's a way to understand a culture, a community. So I can eat all day, like literally. If I could have a change of practice, I probably would be something in food, but I don't cook well, so that probably won't.
And street food. I love street food.
You should go to Taiwan.
I'm ready. Asia's an area that I haven't ventured to yet, and I'm so ready. Okay, so I would love to meet like families and go to their home and in the kitchen and learn how to like cook their traditional family meals.
Yep, hanging out with the locals are best. Avoid the touristy areas.
Yes, I'm all about it. I was like Grandma's Kitchen. That was a TV series that I would like to host and go around and meet people and hang out with their grandma, cook in the kitchen with them and sit at their Friday night meal or their Sunday meal or their traditional meal.
Yeah.
Hang out with their family and then be able to leave. So you just get the good stuff.
It's funny you brought that up. A small project that some of my friends are doing is capturing like old recipes from family, the different generations, because those recipes tend to get lost. And grandparents, parents. So that's something we recently started saying, how do we capture this on, like a video with like a recipe book? So it's a small group of us kind of doing it.
I would love to chat and see how I could be of assistance. I do have a culinary degree, and not a lot of people even know that about me. And so I used to do recipe testing and development for like Martha Stewart and all these magazines and food photography and styling. So I would love to be on the project on however I can help, as long as I can taste it. I'm in. Cool. I know, Corey, we got totally off tangent from financial.
Food just goes off track for me. So
no, it's all good. It's going where it's meant to go.
Yeah.
I'm all good with it.
For sure.
Awesome.
All right, Corey, I'll let you take like the questions that apply to financial coaching.
As you know, though, I don't have any strict questions or questions that I have written down anywhere. But, I would love to maybe talk, Jenny, you're going to be in the upcoming Blue Talks book. I'd love to ask you, can you tell the listeners a little bit about your chapter? Like maybe we'll go there and, what made you decide you want to get your message out and all that kind of good stuff?
Okay. Well, first off, I want to say thank you, Corey, for, bringing this community together. I was not aware of it until I got exposed to Rosalind, who loves you. And I, have joined some of her challenges and some of her master classes. But I love the community that you're bringing together and the different aspect you bring to us. I wanted to make sure I say thank you for that. But the opportunity came to me and it wasn't something I was aware of. I didn't even know what Blue Talks was or who you were even, but it came across me. And when I looked into it, I figured it was a sign. I believe that things align for a reason. And, I came across one. Oh.
That was me. Sorry.
Okay.
I was trying to share it, and it's like, did you hear it talking?
No, I didn't hear a thing.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay.
We didn't hear it.
So why I decided to join and kind of put my story into the chapter is I have been told these past years that I should get my story out there and just kind of, what has happened and kind of how I have embraced it. I need to share it. I don't like being in front of the public or in front of any groups. I don't like public speaking. I like to kind of be behind the scene. So I've always been against, sharing my story in this way. But there's been incidents where people that have heard glimpse of it and see where I am now have said I have saved them in the sense where they weren't as happy, and some of them have wanted to take their life away. But after
Is that us?
I think I had a story. So writing it was kind of like a challenging, because I don't like to share a lot about me in that context. But what I shared in the story is what I call the volcano that erupted with my family. My last.
That's not us, is it?
She was struck as a pedestrian, and that kind of really erupted this volcano. We're figuring it out, how we were going to handle her, how we're going to handle our life, how I'm going to become, suddenly a full-time caregiver, and in a sense, a mom to my mom, was something that was handed to me without expecting. And we thought that was the only, eruption of the volcano. But since then, literally every year, a major family situation has happened. Cancer, started plaguing my family, from my dad getting diagnosed with terminal cancer, a stage 4 liver and colon cancer, to my uncle, my aunt, and then my grandparents, passing away from, what I relate to senior aging. But there's been a lot of major events that has happened, including my godmother committing suicide a few years ago. So the past decade has been a whole decade of this volcano constantly erupting with lava flowing. And that's really how I embrace it. But people always don't know that or expect that when they get to know me, because I am still what I call living and embracing life and showing up authentically. So the previous guest, I was smiling because she mentioned something about, being authentic to yourself. And that's something I challenge myself and a lot of my people in my community. You got to be authentic to yourself. And what authenticity means to me is allowing yourself to feel all the emotions that your body is going through, because emotions are not manufactured. Emotions are just something you feel. But how do you then embrace it? How do you then, understand it and process it and allow yourselves to take it and lead with it to still live, and live very authentically, live very contently. And that's kind of really what my chapter is about, is how do you embrace that, with things that happen in your life, good or bad, but we tend to be plagued by things that are bad, in quotations. But how do you continue to live, and staying true to yourself and staying authentic to yourself and being content? I think content and happy is two different spectrums. You can be happy in the moment, but are you content? And that's something that I really have challenged myself even more every day since this volcano is continued to erupt. It hasn't stopped yet. There has been some new stuff that has happened since that chapter was submitted. So, yeah.
Wow.
The volcano is erupting, huh?
Yes.
That's an interesting analogy.
Yes, because it's as hot as lava. You want to stay away from it, but you can't sometimes. Yeah. So.
Yeah,
but you have such a beautiful spirit, though. Like, so through all of it, you're just like so refreshing. This sounds weird, but doesn't she? She has like a refreshing energy.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that point, I mean, what's intriguing to me too is we talk about this often, where. Well, there's a couple things. Yesterday, we had somebody talking about the idea of what is happy, like the idea of people say, well, I was happy when I did this. I was happy when I did that. And she believes that at her core, we're always happy. And it's just we've had all these other things piled on top of it that make us think happy is now a feeling we have when we're doing certain things, where she doesn't believe that's the case. And so that's one aspect of it. And then there's the other side about what you're talking about as well, is how we see things. So I believe that I believe this firmly. I'm not even going as fully adept as the law of attraction, but I believe that truthfully, if somebody is I don't want to use the word happy since she talked about it in a different way, but if somebody is truly living their fullest life, then I find, you said bad things happen. I find more positive things happen to those people. The people that are typically seeing positive, it's like when we buy the car, why do we always start seeing it everywhere? We're more conscious of it. I think the same thing, if by nature we're somebody who sees the positive side of things, it's not that we're probably getting hit with more positive things than that person says all I get is negative. It's I just think we're probably seeing it as more positive. And so that's what we seem to notice more, and then we end up having more of it. So
do you think that has to do with perspective, Corey?
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying, right? And we can actually reframe it so that something that we thought was crappy is not crappy anymore. And we all often talk about this thing happened to me. What did it happen for? Like, how is it serving me? But I also think there's the other side, and you've heard me talk about this, Elise. I talk about E plus R equals O, how the event that happens to us never changes. But we get to choose our response, which is the R, and that'll dictate the outcome. So I also believe you get to choose how you perceive what just happened to you. Like, you get to reframe it. You can say, well, there's a great, not to get in tangent, but there's a great story in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People with Stephen Covey talking about he's on a bus and he's trying to get some work done. And there's these 3 kids that are running around making all this noise. And I'm paraphrasing now. It's been a while since I read this. But he finally goes to their father. Is there any way you can stop them? Because I can't get any work done. And the father said, oh, I'm so sorry. I've been in a haze here because my wife just died. And I don't know what I'm going to do next. Mm-hmm. And then Covey talked about how that changed everything. All of a sudden, he wasn't mad at the father anymore. He wanted to see how he could help the father. Yeah. But let's look at it honestly. The event didn't change one bit. Meaning, like, the event was the kids were running around making noise. That didn't change. But once he knew the beats behind the story, it changed everything. And Wayne Dyer was listening to a CD not that long ago where he talked about this lady was driving down the road with a Mercedes and she gets hit with a brick on the side of her car and she freaks out. She goes over to tackle who it was, and it turned out to be a kid who was pushing his brother in the wheelchair, and the wheelchair fell over, and he didn't have the strength to get his brother back up. All of a sudden, her Mercedes didn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
So I just, to your point, Elise, it is perspective, I think. And it is perspective.
It's all perspective is our reality.
100%. So I think we get to like, to the point you're making, Jenny, and I went in a bit of a tangent, but I think we get to decide. That's the only thing we get to do is decide. And we get to decide whether it was a bad thing or good thing, or whether we take something bad or good from it. And so I just love that idea that, in this case, we're talking about the volcano, but whatever it is, we get to decide. So I just wanted to put that out there.
No, and I completely agree with everything both of you guys are saying. I do think perspective and what you choose to feed your mind and how you choose to label and words that you choose to use can really stimulate how you feel, how you approach, how you decide to act or not act. So everything you're saying, I was nodding because it is part of how I feel like when people ask me, how have you, in a sense, arrived and thrived in the past decade? For me, I go, that's part of living. First of all, like, you got to live every day optimally, right? You know, every day is a day. But at the same time, is what you mentioned is you choose your response. And what I mean by response is how are you allowing words and labeling and language, and how are you allowing yourself to embrace or not embrace certain emotions, right? And I think when you try to suppress things that you're feeling or thinking without fully authentically understanding it yourself, you start to then take actions that are not as optimal. You start to take actions that are not as positive, right? So you go down this path, which then will not lead you to positive experiences or growth and learning and impact. So, I totally agree with everything you guys said, because perspective is a big thing. Your mind, what you feed your mind is how you will control your responses and actions. So I think that's a big part that a lot of people tend to ignore or not acknowledge the power of what we have within ourselves. Regardless of kind of what you're going through, if you choose to consciously. So.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk finance.
Okay.
I'm just curious because that's an area for me that is I have an interesting relationship with finance. Yep. And because I see, obviously that's nominal, right? The nominal exchange for what we're doing, right? We get this finance. My finance tends to be intentions, and it shows up without needing to have that exchange a lot of times. So I often find I'm not so sure. Like, I don't know that I have a relationship like you do with finance in the sense that it's not foreign to me in that sense, but like I don't know. Like, so like, let's say I come to you and I'm like, okay, I've just made $1 million, which is kind of true. But anyway, I just made $1 million and I'm not really sure my options.
Yeah.
Is that something that you help people with?
It is. So where I think you nailed it is a lot of times when people approach financial planning, which, I'm a financial planner, they tend to ignore what we believe in our practice is the core is you have to explore your money behavior and your money relationship first. Like the core of our process is really having that foundational piece, and it's really digging into these elements you mentioned. What is your current relationship with money? What do you define as money? What do you feel about money? How are you currently living with money? And I tell people, you got to date your money. You have to have
exactly like so. And also, like, when you even use the word planning, for me, like, I mean, I'm not a planner. I'm a inspired action taker, know, and I love it, and it works for me. So when I hear financial planning, if it was financial inspiration, so I think the word planning for me more than anything else gives me a little bit of like that seems pretty like serious, and I don't know.
Yep, it might take you away from even wanting to continue to go through that clarity process or that.
And I actually think it's the word planning more than finance that actually makes me like, I don't know.
Okay, that's good to know, because that's really why we want to explore that relationship with our clients and partners and community, because without identifying that, we could be using words, we could be educating you, sharing information, or approaching you in a manner that it doesn't matter how much or how little, in a sense, you even have. If we can't get you, who's the main driver that has to control, and we see money as oxygen. We tell people oxygen is something everyone needs. At some points of time, you might need more. Some points of time, you might need less, right? But everyone needs oxygen. Is how you want to manage that relationship with your oxygen to be able to live optimally every single day. Something that, my team and my partners are really, we embrace, because I think too many times when people hear planning, it also is so long-term.
Like, you already lost me.
Yeah,
planning, right? Like,
so, and it's so far off.
And that's, I mean, I can invest. I'm a great investor. I like taking, seeing how I can flip things, and that, because it's just in the moment, but like the whole planning thing seems like very like, okay, well, I have to be on it for a long time. You know what I mean?
Creating financial independence. Does that?
That's better. That resonates more with me. So there are options that I can take or choose to
live and be able to make decisions.
My fiance and I are going to be reaching out to you. I'm going to tell you that right now, like in a very short amount of time, because we're looking for somebody that can help guide us in our next financial journey. So keep going. So financial independence, I'm in.
Yep. Or discovering your relationship with money.
Or freedom. I like freedom.
Yes. Well, financial creativity or freeing yourself from what, the what we call the technical relationship with money. We work with a lot of millennials these days, and they're on this whole FIRE movement to retire early, right? But for us, we don't want to just help you retire. The really critical thing is, because of everything that has happened to me and my family, living every day optimally is a key thing we battle.
Oh no, come back. I feel like every time,
and there's a lot of,
wait, you just froze. So what did you just say? Like,
I said, where we see the difference is the industry does a lot of encouraging and educating to plan for the future, but doesn't balance it with living in the moment. And I always think you gotta be responsible. You're probably gonna live long, but you still gotta live now, because what if something happens to you, like the U family? What if your U volcano erupts? Right? It really does change the scope of, how you should have this relationship with money. So that's really where we drive in on. We really bring an approach and a framework that goes, how do you live now? And how do we challenge you to live more optimally? And I keep saying the word optimally, because optimizing your situation, your environment, your days is so different to everyone, right? And everyone can optimize. I'm a true believer of that. Any situation you're in, if you choose to, and you work within yourself and your authentic self, you can optimize that day and that situation, right? So that's really a key thing we always how do we keep moving you, bring you closer to more optimization? But in terms of the context of with your relationship with money, how does it give you more choices? That you can have complete clarity and confidence in the options that you're choosing.
Come back.
Money is not to look at a bank account, right? Money is not to see in, any financial institution or even the investment market. Money is really more, what can I do with my loved ones, right? What can I do with myself? You should love yourself, right? And I think that's really where a lot of people have detached from that, no matter how much or how little they have. So that's something that is really important to me. It's really, really important for me, even outside of my practice, for people to be true to themselves and really be able to love themselves, because you can love more. When you can love yourself, you can truly love and take care of people more. If you can't love yourself and take care of yourself, you're going to be plateaued, right? Your impact.
I love how you're infusing like all of this, like whole, like your whole life, like WHOLE, and bringing finance into that. That's a very unique approach. One of the things that you said actually triggered this like aha for me. When I was 18, I actually had an autoimmune disease, Guillain-Barré, and I was paralyzed. So slowly paralyzed. It wasn't like I got hit, but I had a back injury. And so, and one of the promises I made to myself, as I also recognized the power of thought and belief in healing oneself in this journey, was that I made a commitment to myself to make a life for myself now, as opposed to focus on making a living to support the life I love. And so this whole planning thing for me, I have a very different relationship to saving for the future, because I feel like I got a major second. I've got a lot of second chances after that second chance, but that was my first major second chance. And so my relationship to right now is so powerful that when I think of planning, it's like, but wait a second, I have right now. So that's something I never really thought of before, like with this whole planning thing and long term, and it takes time. I'm like, no, I'm making a life for myself right now, because life is a series of nows that kind of create our whole way of being. So so having somebody like yourself looking at finance from your perspective resonates so much with where I'm at as far as living optimally, like right now, like you were talking about.
Well, and I have to add in the middle here that one of the things I'm hearing, which, by the way, Marnie had said, at least don't stress. Jenny's got some great advice, and you and your fiance are already doing what you love, so the money will follow. But I want to
I shouldn't even say this. It's kind of like, but I'm telling you, you never know where you're going to make your $1 million. I'm just saying, like, you just don't know.
It's true. And I wanted to add just this quote that speaks to me so much. And it's from such a unique place when you think about finance, but it's a Gandhi quote. And Gandhi said at one point, and I might have this paraphrased, but he said, live as if you could die tomorrow and plan like you're going to live forever.
Okay. Well,
and
maybe Jenny's going to have to help us with that.
But what I'm saying is that's covering both of what Jenny's saying off, I think. It's like, don't like live your life for tomorrow. Live like this could be, if this is your last day, what are you going to do? How are you going to live it to your fullest? And at the same time, be mindful of the fact that you might live longer than this. So you need to have some preparation.
And it's true. Whoever, I don't know. Did Marnie say that in the comments? I don't see the comments right now.
About the money
we're already living.
No,
we are. And it's true. Like, I was like, if I had $1 million right now, how would I live differently? I wouldn't even probably change. I love my little majestic RV with no slide outs and 24 feet. And she's not fancy, but I don't even think I would want a new one. Like, so I don't know that I would want to change anything right now. Like, it's pretty, like, I'm digging things right now, but I do like the idea of having that opportunity, and my son, and, there are reasons why.
I don't know my email. Okay, you guys are back. I lost you guys for a second. I was like, hello. So I heard the RV and the majestic RV, and then I lost you.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, I don't know that I would change a whole lot right now. Like, things like, it's like, I love the life right now. So, I mean, I think that people who are like looking to plan for their future have this whole idea that maybe like they're waiting until then to live optimally now. And I think your message is so powerful. It's like right now, optimally now.
That's where the shifting needs to happen. I think people when they plan, they think it has to be this major step, like this next. And, and I would tell people you can be truly content and happy with where you are now. But are there, how can we maybe adjust some of the questions you're asking yourself? What are things that you are still maybe not doing? Right? That you would do, right? It might not be, I'm not talking about necessarily 5-10 years away, but there are always those little things like, would you love to spend more time with your son? Would you love to, give back more to the certain cause?
I want to go to Asia and eat my way through the street food.
Would you want to join my foodie project? Right? I think there's always things that we don't allow ourselves to think as deeply because we're so busy with the day-to-day or the bigger things that we tend to forget what makes us truly content and optimize is some of those little things, right? And it doesn't mean that not happy with maybe your majestic RV, but are, you know, there are little things even missing on that RV, right? That if you have the flexibility and the independence and the security that you could add to it, right? It doesn't have to be completely shifting your life. And that's really where the little optimizations I feel like has helped me and my family continue to live the way we have. And I say this, a lot of people don't expect any of the things we share, because we don't share, what has happened to my family, within the first even couple of years of knowing you, right? If it's not but then when they start to find out, and that's really why I decided to write a chapter in the stories, because people go, we never knew. We've known you for the past 5 years, 6 years, in our I did some advocacy work in the community. We need to know. And I was like, well, it just was never the right environment. And you don't just, share. And then they were like, well, what we mean by it is like, you still seem very happy. And it's like, why would I not be happy? Right. But it's making these little, I think being conscious of these little areas that you can optimize, your days, optimize your thinking, shift your thinking, and allowing yourself, tying it back to the money. Unfortunately, money does create people to make, create people to have this relationship with money where they think their whole life is in a sense tied to it.
Yeah,
right.
I was going to say there's the other side too, is that I feel like sometimes there's both sides, right? There's people that are stressed about, do I have enough for the future? And so then they're living in the future. But then there's the other side, is that some people think, well, I love my life as it is, so I don't want to sacrifice even one iota for the future. And so I feel like we have so many layers and so many
balance again, right? Finding the balance.
Yeah, but I mean, I truthfully think that there's a lot of people that think if I put anything away for the future, then I'm sacrificing today. And then, like I said, I think there's other people that think if I don't put stuff away from the future, I won't be set when it comes to the future. But then they are sacrificing for sure today. Yeah. Because it goes back to what I said about Michael J. Fox. And when you're stepping on today, and stepping on tomorrow and stepping on yesterday, you're actually peeing all over today. You're not paying attention to the moment and what's happening in the now. And so I do feel to that point, at least, that it is, I think it's and again, we don't want to, say balance is this perfect situation, but I do think, it does make sense to live full out now, but also be conscious of the fact that there may be a tomorrow.
Finding your signature dish, being the signature dish of your own life.
I think it's having clarity. I think if you're more clear about kind of, with what Corey said, like if I save now for the future, I'm sacrificing today. But we really boil it down to, what does that mean? Like, what do you feel that you're sacrificing? Like, how are you sacrificing, right? And what do and how do you feel like saving for the future? What does that mean to you? Because I think when people boil it down to where they can think clearly, like, this is what I mean by sacrificing. I don't want to not be able to take my weekend trips with my, friends to go eat. I don't want to not be able to just fly to Asia once a quarter to go eat, street. If they start clarifying it to themselves and having these discussions, then they can make more choices that they feel comfortable with. But too many times they don't approach money in that way. We plan more. I always use this thing. We plan more for a vacation than we do for any part of our lives. And living daily, like your days are with you for 7 days a week, right? But we just don't tend to think about our days in that manner. Right. And if we do any planning, once again, I know you hate that word, but, we tend to only think about like,
I'm making more peace with it. I'm okay.
Settling
in.
So I think the word not really balanced for us is like, how can we give you more clarity and confidence in why you're choosing the options and making the decisions you're choosing? Because I think when people have that back, they feel more comfortable, because then they are more logical to say, of course, I'm going to probably live, and they even say, no offense, Danny, we're probably not going to have a tragic event like your family. Right. And I said, yeah, I don't think so. You're right. So, so you maybe do want to think about you would be living. So I think they start to come to that conclusion themselves. But when you're forced and told to, then it's this whole thing that's far away, that seems so far away, or you just don't have any connection to it. Right. It's not your authentic self, once again. Because you're not really able to kind of go through that process. So that's really where we try to be a partner and encourage, or sometimes make, right, clients to explore that first, because no plan will be a good plan. It doesn't matter if you're not truly embracing it as your authentic self. I'm a true believer.
Wow, that is like powerful. I've never ever heard somebody who's financially focused in their career look at things in such a balanced way, an aligned way. And you know what just came to me too? I'm like, okay, so I can put any recipe together. I can go into anyone's kitchen and it doesn't matter what they have in their cupboards. I can create a signature dish because I do flavors really well. Like that's one of my gifts. I could put flavors together and I know how they're going to like love each other, and your taste buds will love them too.
It makes me so excited.
Yeah, right. However, I don't know the ingredients, right? From a financial growth standpoint, I don't know what ingredients are available really. Like I don't understand the flavor of those ingredients. Investing in real estate, I don't know, IRAs, like I don't know what those I don't know. If I look at it like ingredients where I can create the perfect recipe, financial recipe, that's an approach I can take. And what I'm realizing is that I don't think I've ever took enough time to really see what ingredients are available for the perfect financial recipe for my life.
Yep. And the ingredients I also feel like are the more technical aspect, really identifying even like what kitchen you want to even in, right? What type of stove. I think that's the missing part. Too many times our industry, if we look for education, we're only focusing on what I call the end byproduct, right? Which is the typical, and that's the boring. I always tell you that's the boring side of my business. Like I need to understand it. I need to make sure I'm staying on top of it. But that's not the fun part. The fun part is getting to know, where are we baking? Are we cooking? Are we steaming? Are we misting? Right? Because that's the part that's customized to who you are, right? If we could be using the same flour, but if we put in a different stove with a different temperature, right? My dad used to be a chef. So
okay, so I'm totally resonating right now.
Yeah, and I never picked up any of that. I don't cook at all, and that's why we decided we probably should capture some recipes. That's where this side project. But even with that, it's like, do you want a kitchen with an island bar in the middle because you bake a lot and you need a lot of cooling space, right? Are you the type that uses a lot of steaming? And I think that's really where a lot of people end up ignoring that. They ignore that piece, and I'm like, well, that's really, really critical because that's you. Right? That's what's going to drive you, motivate you. That's your authentic self. So when you are using these ingredients like IRA accounts, real estate, you have more of a relationship, right? Because I can tell you all day and all night, organic flour is good for you. This was not grown in a field where I was using pesticides. The sunshine and sun rays were really great. It's going to make your flour, your cookies and cupcakes taste really good, but that still doesn't tie anything to you versus if I say, well, it's all the way in Bali in the rice fields, right? You can, if you've been to Bali, you resonate. It's really peaceful. Maybe you want, you can resonate with that, right? Because I connected it to who, I think that's really where we feel like is the missing link with a lot of times when people approach money on how we help them build out wealth and security.
Now you keep saying we. Are you part of a team or is it
I have a business partner. I have a few business partners.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So it's a philosophy that we strengthened and kind of molded into this approach and tied, money behaviors with, in a sense, financial coaching with financial planning.
So what is the name of your company?
So we are contracted with larger companies. I am not allowed to say my company associated with this interview because there's a lot of compliance. But yes. So we always like to be careful with that. Yep. Yeah.
Can somebody reach out to you? Sorry, Corey. But can somebody just reach out to you as a private coach, or are you always connected to these other? Oh no.
So if there's certain steps that are needed, these.
Well, wait, you froze. We didn't hear any of that. Okay.
We're connected to these contracts when ingredients are needed, right? If within your situation, we need to help you move forward or take steps, and I'm using your words, ingredients, but these are the products.
I like it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but in terms of doing a discovery session, I always tell people that is really critical. I need to make sure we're able to add value to you, right? We don't want to bring on anyone, that I can't be my authentic self, and we don't have fun, right? So, that's the initial part. And then from there, if any of these other platforms were asked to access, would help benefit your situation, then yes. But we don't really know what that is until we kind of start off with that discovery.
So if somebody's going to contact you directly, go through that process, see where they, what kitchen they want to cook in, whatever. Yeah. And then from there, you kind of reach out to, okay, got it. And how do we do that? How do we connect with you?
So you can reach me through my email or on LinkedIn. If you type up my full name, that's why I usually put my full name, because there's so many Jennies and there's so many Yous. Like I have the most common American female girl name, and then I have the most common last Asian name, Chinese last name. So that's why if you LinkedIn me, with that name, usually there's only a few that comes up. I don't think there's even another one.
Wait, what name? Because I only have Jenny. I think
Jenny Yu. So Jenny, Jenny, and then Powa, P-O space W-A-H, and then last name is Yu. You should only see, I think, me.
Okay.
I found you. I found you, and I can, if it's okay with you, Jenny, I can put it in the comments. Is that okay? Like your LinkedIn profile?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you also put it in the flip your script one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jenny, we're down to the last, I'm going to say 2 or 3 minutes, 4 minutes. And so this is a big question, but I want to ask you a big question, and then I'll pass it over to Lisa if she wants to ask her mindset question. But my big question is, I'm always thinking about this when it comes to financial planning. So I just want to get your take on this. And again, I know you're not going to be able to dive into this fully in this short amount of time, but I'm just wondering what you suggest to people that you run into this situation. And so with entrepreneurs, we have the ability, and I'm not saying it's easy or we can do it right away, but we have the ability to, if we're struggling, like we don't have enough money to put away money, we can either increase our revenue or lower our expenses. But if you are an employee somewhere and you're at this fixed income that just covers your bills, and if one thing happens, you're already behind by 2 weeks, what do you recommend a person starts doing in that situation? Beyond maybe claiming bankruptcy because their bills are high, I just mean like even just to live. Some people, if they're making, say, $2,000 a month, when you add in rent and running a car and all that stuff, I mean, they could be right at their limit. How do those people, or what do you recommend they do to start at least taking that step? Is it, for example, finding a higher paying job? I don't know if that's the easy answer, but I'm just saying, what do you recommend when people are just right at their limit? Like, how can they, and a lot of people are into this situation. I mean, I've heard the numbers that something like, 60% of North Americans are like 2 weeks away from not being able to live financially. So it's a lot of people. So what do you recommend when somebody comes to you in that situation?
Yeah, there's a couple of conversations we would have. I think last year was a good test to people living economically more challenged, even if they weren't in such a dire situation as what you quoted. I think a lot of people felt, the pressure or the risk because, if their business or company closed, they could easily, lose their job. So I think there's a couple of things that we say is, a lot of people, I'm smiling because it's one of the most elementary steps, but I kid you not, in my 15 years, so many people ignore it in the sense of really embracing it. It's really understanding what your cash flow lifestyle spending is, right? And I think really understanding that to the T, right? And we say cash flow lifestyle spending because it's not necessarily a budget for us. Budget component could be part of it if we choose to, if needed, but it's really
this is this good stuff
to the T, because without understanding that, no matter what situation you're in, with a lot of resources or no resources, you're not going to be able to make any moves, right? So that's like the core, right? And these are, we do these with, newly graduated, graduating college students, very high net worth. We need to understand your cash flow, lifestyle spending, because we can't make any optimal changes, or even get your situation wrong with that. And then in context to, if they work for a corporate, this is also something, I feel like people need to go back to their authentic self is, if you are not in an area that you feel like is paying you or compensating you, is it truly because you do not have the opportunities to move forward or to, negotiate or work towards, or is it truly like, have you even explored that? Or is it more that you have fear, right? Or you're you're comfortable with the uncomfortable, so used to the current situation you're in. So that, with that component from that discussion, then it could lead to, maybe encouraging yourself to look for a new opportunity, or even, side hustles have been a big thing that people have started exploring. We've worked with a lot of corporate professionals, even from the Silicon Valley area right in my back door, that are starting to engage in kind of their small entrepreneur idea, right? So I think that component is really critical. But I think I'm starting off with, have they really explored why they're stuck, right? Because are you stuck because you truly in your line of industry, in what you can do, there's no room for you to, is it? And a lot of times it usually isn't. A lot of times it's because we're comfortable with the uncomfortable. We're so used to living the same way. So having that discussion and going back to your authentic self, and then saying what are my options, right? If it's truly where you have no options, then we can then look at, like I said, how do we maybe find a better company next step up, right? How do we negotiate differently for types of compensation? How do we add a side passion? Right. And then lastly, I think creating passive income is something that I always tell people, and investing early, even if you have a small amount, is something that you should do. Even if you're in debt, of course, depends on what type of debt, but even if you are in debt on a very general level, we do feel like shifting your mindset to say, how do I start creating passive income and investing, is always something we try to pair with earlier than not. Because I do think that helps. We do truly believe that helps you get out of this economic cycle where you're not as financially secure, using some of those elements. And if you can wait, there's a perfect time. There's really no perfect time. Perfect time is now.
Yeah,
absolutely. No, I love that. That's such a great answer, Jenny. And like I said, I know that's a big question to put in somebody with 2 or 3 minutes remaining.
But you did well.
Yeah, I appreciate you even be willing to tackle a question that's that big in such a short amount of time. But I do think a lot of people are in that situation. So I think it's, I'm always trying to speak for that person I think that's listening, saying, but what about me? And I think you gave people some great strategies. And I think the biggest takeaway I heard there is to reach out to Jenny. That's the biggest takeaway, and let you try to figure that out.
I mean, you've inspired me. When I heard like financial coach and financial planner, I'm I'm open, but I love you. Like, I just want to hang out with you and eat food. Like, financial coaching is a bonus.
Come out to San Francisco. We have good food here.
You know where I used to live? I used to live on the corner of Fulton and Stanton, right across from Golden Gate.
Okay. How long ago?
I was before my son was born, and he's just turned 27. So it was a long time ago.
It's changed a lot, but it's still,
I'm sure.
I still love it. I mean, there's a lot of things we're dealing with, but I still love it. But there's still good food.
I used to go over to, I used to work in the Triangle. Is the Triangle still there? Like that area? Yeah. And on H Street, I used to work too when I was younger. But we used to go to Sausalito and Tiburon a lot because it was cold in the summer, and then it was like warm over there.
Yeah, the ferry. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yes. So I'll head out there.
You guys come out. I'll take you around.
We could just go eat in Chinatown and stuff there.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. I love seeing these connections happen. So Jenny, this has been an absolute pleasure. And, Elise, I'm sure we'll talk to you further about bringing you on maybe and I shouldn't keep putting this on Elise because I'm going to be building up a whole roster.
Listen, I have been taking a Flip Your Script Friday hiatus as I've been, our focus primarily has been building this retreat in Weeki Wachee, Florida. So, yes, starting in January, that's going to be my commitment, is that the Flip Your Script Fridays will continue. And I love having all of these amazing people as, on the list. Like, all I have to do is reach out and be like, hey, let's pick a date. Let's pick a Friday. And so I'm glad that you're making these connections for me, because all I have to do is show up.
I love it. And Jenny, I'll reach out too, because I think this will be a good fit for my podcast. Let's Do Influencing. The financial side, we don't cover it enough. So, and you have a holistic approach to it. Yes. So I think that'd be a good fit for my audience. So bottom line is, we'll get you some more exposure, and we'll call it to be continued and bring you back on in the future.
Thank you.
And I'm going to reach out to you before January, because I'm serious about this whole foodie project that you guys are doing. If I could be of assistance in any way, maybe it'll be great.
Okay. I'm excited. Thank you.
Awesome. I'll let you both connect after. So Jenny, thank you so much. Appreciate you. We'll wave the flag for all the great stuff you're doing. We'll let you run for now, but to be continued, my friend.
Thank you. Be safe.
Thank you. You too. See you, Jenny. Okay, so Lisa, I'm going to bring on our next guest right away, because as you know, I only have till the top of the hour, so I want to at least get a chance to talk to Katherine as well, and mix things up.
And I know we talked about doing a tapping session at the end of each day, but let's just save it till tomorrow so you could be there too, and we can just kind of finish out the week that way.
Okay, maybe we can do one when we open too, but we'll figure that out tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm in. Hi.
Okay, cool. Hi, Katherine.
Hey, how are you guys?
Well, we are just doing great. How are you?
So fantastic. I love your backgrounds.
Thank you so much.
This is actually Corey inspired. Didn't you have a background similar to this at one point, Corey?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do. I do. It's just not, I don't think it's up on any of the walls right now.
Well, that would be kind of cool if we coordinated and had the same backgrounds.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting you say that, because our first few ones, Elise was like struggling with not having a background, and I know you were like, and I say this, it wasn't off air, like you were on the air saying, "Wow, I wish I had a background like this," and all of a sudden
I was in an RV and I'm like trying to close the curtains so you don't see the background, and Corey's like, "You could go on Amazon." And I'm like, "Really?" So this is you never know where I am.
It's like the new texting, what are you wearing, right? To coordinate outfits. It's coordinating backgrounds now.
Well, I like your background. Is it real or is it one of those green screen images?
Yeah, it's real. It's real.
Cute.
It's a local artist in Alberta.
I love it.
Yeah, thank you.
Amazing. So, Katherine, having said all that, tell us a little bit about yourself so we can get to know you a little bit better, and our guests as well, of course, and our viewers can learn a little bit more about you as well. Can you tell us?
Yeah, what's your catalyst?
What's the catalyst? So, well, thank you for having me. Super honored to be here with you both today. I was listening to the conversation with Jenny, taking copious notes, and so much of what she was sharing really aligns with the work that I do. And so Catalyst coaching is, it's my passion in life. It is, what is a catalyst? So a catalyst is a spark that elicits change, right? Lots of people talk about having a defining moment in their life or in their business, and it's that spark, it's that catalyst. And so catalyst coaching is really being that spark for people to start to learn how to tap into their own wisdom, their own guidance, their own spark, right? To actually develop that within themselves. So yeah, that's what it's about.
And I love the play on words, Katherine, catalyst with a K. I mean, come on, girl, after my own heart, Brandon.
You get it. I love it. Yeah, it was one of those, those kind of divine downloads where something just sticks with you and sticks with you and sticks with you, and you got to go with it. Yeah. So catalyst.
Well, it's like flip your script kept coming to me. Flip your script, girl. Flip your script, girl. Flip your script. Yeah. I'm like, flip your script coaching. People talk about thoughts become things all the time. Yeah. Flip your script. So it was kind of just that whole, so I get it. And then when we were talking about the soul, right? With Lisa.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really what I do, is helping people connect to that inner guidance, the divinity within them. And my belief, and beyond belief, my knowing, my absolute knowing, is that we are all spiritual beings having a human experience, that we are expressions of the divine, and that our dreams, our goals, our vision for what we would love to create in this life, those are things that we are here to uniquely experience. Nobody has the same dream. No one has the same vision.
No, you're right. Never really heard that before, but it's true.
Yeah. And no one can live the same life. And so to really support people in actually stepping into that and identifying, well, what is that I'm here to be and do and have and express and experience in this, in this earth school that we're all navigating. And then how do I do it? So how do I identify it? And then how do I actually, flip the script on all of the limiting stuff that we've all been subconsciously programmed with just by being, human beings. And then how do I actually move in that direction of creating that life that I love?
So did you always know that you had this gift to help people find their catalyst for their life?
I joke with people. So I actually have a flat spot on the back of my head. And my joke is that I have it because I came down saying I'm going to take the hard way, like literally like banging my head against the wall, right? Like that didn't work, that didn't work, and for so long, you know, when I look back, I'm like, duh, like it was there, but ignoring it. And so ignoring.
It gets louder and louder and louder.
Yep, the universe turns up the volume, right? It starts with a whisper, and when you ignore that, it turns up the volume. So
Yes.
yeah, so I think I always had been in those roles, and I have a master's in counseling and have done lots of leadership development and worked in nonprofits and education and business, and but just really up until I finally got the message, or finally listened to the message, I should say, tuned into the message, had been, you know, kind of ignoring it.
Okay, so when did that, what I call flip your script moment or haha moment, sort of transition into the journey that you're on now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I look up because I have a vision board right above my computer. And my husband and I were in business together. We'd actually grown a multiple 7-figure business together in the construction industry. And lots of really amazing things about it. We loved working together. We loved having that shared focus and project and spending so much time together and really creating it together. And we were both wanting to create the kind of organization where people could bring their full self to work, right? The guys, and I say guys because it was industrial construction. So primarily, you know, male tradesmen could bring their full self to work, you know, be fully there, and then go home and be more present with their family, more engaged in their community, that we'd have that kind of relationship with our stakeholders and vendors and clients. And so that was really our vision for what we were trying to create. And through that process, I started really, really tuning even more into the work of like Joe Dispenza and, you know, Abraham Hicks, and
love them all
of them. And I'd been reading and studying and, you know, learning about, and I'd had times in my life where I had applied the principles and I had results, but I didn't know how, and I didn't do it consistently. So I'd kind of unconsciously have some competence, but it wasn't repeatable. So through that process, I was listening more to the discontent and the longing, and, you know, grateful for the parts of it that I loved and that I really enjoyed. And also really starting to tune into, this isn't how I want to show up. It feels like I'm contorting myself. Like I'm trying to make the business be something that's really not the environment necessarily for it to be easy and to flourish. I'm trying to, or was trying to, you know, contort myself, saying, oh, when it doesn't need me, then I can go do what I want. When the cash flow looks like this, then I can that, right? So that when then game that I think so many of us play, where we start to hear that whisper, I would say, oh, when the kids are older, you know, then I'll do this. Or when my bank account, you know, looks like this, then I'll go do this. Or when COVID is over, or, you know, when I get the promotion. So we play that game where we put off what's important to us. And I was totally in that game. And so I created this vision board because I thought I want to get clear on what I actually want to create, because I know that, again, lots of things to be grateful for in the experience I'm having. And it feels like it's really not where I'm meant to be. So I created this vision board. In the middle of it is this, now I know I call it a luminous light being. So it's this, you know, this kind of like image of a person with light coming out. And I was almost done, and I'm like, I'm not quite finished. There's actually some pieces missing, and they were some words. So community, abundance, love, service, spirituality, and gratitude. So I added those, and I'm like, oh, this is, and I'm like, I don't know what this is. I don't know how this works. I don't know what,
but it's a vision board, and I did it.
I did it, and I trusted, like I fully went into the process. And maybe 3-4 months later, we had a major oil and gas client who owed us a lot of money. They went bankrupt. And so we had to close our business. And it was extremely challenging. It was extremely painful. It was devastating. We had put everything into it, our lives, our energy, our resources. And yet during that process, there was a part of me that was open. There was a part of my brain, a part of my soul, a part of my heart that was open to the idea that, oh, maybe this is happening for a reason.
Was there a little essence of relief?
There absolutely, when it kind of got through, there was lots of imagining what it might look like and how it would go and what people would think. And then all of those limiting beliefs that come up right around quote unquote failure. And through that process, as we were closing it, I found myself looking at job postings online. And I would look at a job posting and I could feel that familiar, like, contortion mindset, that contortion thinking happening, and thinking, well, it's not like this could work. I don't love these parts, but if I contort myself, then I can make it work. And I had this moment. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? I've done this for so long, thinking it's for this purpose. And look what happened. Look what happened. So in that moment, I made a decision. And we all know that that's when your life changes, is when you make a decision that something's going to be different, even in the absence, and especially in the absence of knowing how it's going to happen, right? But that something was going to be different. And so I decided, you know what, I'm done with putting what I want last. I'm done with contorting myself. I did it for so long, and it literally got me to this point, right? So I decided I'm going to do what I love. And so this was January 2020, and we all know what happened in March. So prior to that, my husband actually shipped off to Africa on Valentine's Day for a job that was supposed to be a rotation job. I went to Vancouver Island to support my mom through cancer treatment. On March 20th was when they declared the provincial pandemic. She passed away the same day. My husband
transitioned.
Totally, right? The business is done. My mom has passed. My husband was stuck in Africa for 6.5 months during the COVID pandemic. And yet there was that part of me that knew and trusted, okay, this is actually, like, yes, not to dismiss how challenging and devastating it was, but there's this feeling of like, okay, there's something else emerging here. There's something else emerging here. And so I leaned into the process, and then actually my husband sent me an email about a coaching program, because I have a master's in counseling, have a couple of bachelor's degrees. It's really important to me to have coaching that is based on proven, repeatable, reliable systems. If people are going to invest in themselves, I want to make sure it's something that's going to work for them. If they're fully into the process, that it's going to work. And I've done lots of curriculum development in my life. And so when I found this coaching program that I then invested in and got certified in, it ticked all of the boxes. And it actually felt like I had come home, where much of my life, I felt like I'm kind of that, square peg in the round hole of life, not quite fitting. It felt like, like these are people who get it. These are people who get it. And just this immense feeling of like, right? And that even deeper trust in the process and the universe and how to work with that. And so, yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell.
So I'm going to just, do you have any kids?
Totally.
Like I did hear what you said, but I'm just curious.
For children. And we've had nieces live with us over the years. So we're like, surrogate parents to nieces lived with us, and then for children. Can you hear me okay?
I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, there's a buzzing happening.
Is it with me?
Let me see.
Hello.
Bueller. I think it's on your side. Let me just try something here. Elise, what does it sound like now?
Fine.
Yeah, I think it's on your side, Kathy.
Was it always there? Or did it just start?
No, to start.
It sounds like there's been some sort of entity that showed up in your microphone right now.
Love and gratitude. Love and gratitude. Let me unplug it and plug it back in.
Okay. And Elise, just so you know, she said fur babies.
Oh, fur babies. I was like,
yes.
4 babies.
You're thinking 4 babies?
Oh.
I think she's just unplugging it and plugging it back in, I think. Probably her camera and mic might be tied in together. But yeah, I knew you were trying to fur, and I knew she was saying fur, and I was trying to decipher between this. So let's just see. Hopefully this fixes it.
All right, as she's popping back on. So how did you meet Katherine?
Oh my gosh, this is the hard part. After being out there so long, it's hard for me to remember who the original connection was. Katherine might remember it better than me, but
it was Rosalind.
Oh, today's the Rosalind.
Dang, today is Rosalind's Day. Woo woo for Rosalind. Wait, isn't Jenny too, right? The trifecta? Did Jenny?
Yeah.
Wait,
no, yeah, Jenny was a connection through Rosalind as well. Yeah, so today's Rosalind.
Yourself like a little what is it? The person you send out and they bring you back, like bring back all your people. That's Rosalind.
Well, yeah, well, Rosalind's that person for everybody. She's I mean, she's a magnet, and she talks about that becoming a magnet, but she's like the magnetic connector, or magnetic networker. I don't know what she's got, something where she's just like she'll go into a room and say, I need to know that person. And then like 3 years later, they're best friends. Like she's just got.
I'm going to try that. I love it.
Yeah, she's a super. That's the best term I can put it. She's a super connector.
Yeah, super connector. Yeah.
She truly is. But it's not. But it's kind of cool because the odds of it ever being all 3 people would be pretty low. But today's Rosalind's day, so I'll have to tell her, because I think we gotta. I'm going through her story for the book, the next issue of the book. So I'll be talking to her probably tomorrow. So I'll tell her yesterday, meaning today, was Rosalind Day. So
it was a trifecta. It was the Rosalind trifecta day.
Absolutely. And Katherine, I think you sound. I think it's fixed.
How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, much better. So they're fur babies, not 4 babies.
Like woof woof meow.
Got it.
Yes. Yeah, and then we've also been surrogate parents to nieces that have lived with us over the years.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to ask my question. So if I came to you, like, okay, so who is your target? Like, what area? Like, so because you've become so in alignment with this journey that you're on, is there a specific group of people that you resonate with, or that tends to resonate with you on their journey?
That's a great question. It tends to be, so I work with women and men. I work with, like younger, like age range from mid-20s to 60s, 70s. And I also have a podcast called My Dead Dragon. And it's conversations with women who woke up one day and realized that no one and nothing was coming to save them, and that they had to become the heroine of their own life and the main character of their own story. So that's really who resonates with me, is women who have realized, wait a minute, I've been putting myself last all of my life. I've been feeling like I don't matter, like what I want isn't important. And often it can show up like anxiety or depression. It can show up with, health dis-ease. It can show up with relationship discord. It can show up with lack of results in terms of the financial impact because of the belief that, I'm not worth it. And so that tends to be who really resonates with me, is women who have realized, okay, it's my turn. It's my time. It's time for me to really figure out, what is it that I want out of life? What would I love for my life? And then how do I create that?
Perfect. Well, there you go. So Corey, do you have any questions?
Well, I'm basically.
You're so good with them. You're like staring. I didn't want to interrupt. I was like,
no, that's okay. I'm getting. I shortly, like within a minute or two, I have to move over to my live training I'm doing. So let me ask the final question, and then I'll leave it back to you both to continue. And I'll be watching, just so you know, Elise, on phone, and try to watch for when you're done, and then I'll just end it after that. But don't you worry about that. I'll figure that out for ending the video. Having said that, yeah, Katherine, I guess the one question I would ask, and I haven't asked this all week, so I'm going to ask you the question that I ask typically, and I don't think I've ever asked you, and I haven't asked it all week, which is my time machine question. Because I like to ask it as much as possible. So I'd love to get your take on, if you could jump into a time machine and go back and talk to a younger Katherine, give her one piece of life advice based on what you've learned in the years since. What do you think you might tell young Katherine?
I would tell her, you are enough. Nothing wrong with you. And you actually get to decide what you want for your life. You get to decide, and you have the power to choose your thoughts and create your reality.
I love that. And, that's been a common theme this week. We've talked about it. You get to choose, and you get to create your reality. Even just like I said it earlier today, at some point, the only thing we get to do, really the only thing we have power over, for sure, 100% at all times, is making decisions, to choose how we think, to choose what life we want. We have this power. I mean, I think a lot of people have given it up or think we don't have it, sadly, but we do. We have this power to choose. And I really do feel it's the only thing we 100% for sure have freedom over. People can try to force us to choose something, but it's the only thing we have power over. So I love that. We get to choose what we create, because we truly, honestly do. And I wish everybody knew this. And again, I know Elise is big on non-judgment, so I'm not judging people for not knowing it, but I just wish and hope for everybody to know this. Almost like Jim Carrey said, what did he say? I hope for everybody to have money to realize they don't need money. And it's, for me, like, I wish for everybody and hope for everybody they could realize that the only thing you have control over is your decision.
Which impacts your perspective. Yeah. Right. And that is it. But that's a really big thing, Corey. Like, there's so much truth in that what we have our choices. But there's so much that holds us back from making certain choices. So that could be really big for somebody who's watching right now, who I know I have choices, but I don't know what choice to make. Or I know I have the ability to create my reality, but I don't know where to start. Or so knowing something like that's like going to like one of these big events, like these motivational events that you could be anything and do anything and have anything. And we have speakers that tell you that you can and you can do. And then you leave and you're like, I know I can. And now I know more than ever, but I don't know where to start. And that feels even worse. So I just want to ease anyone who's watching right now, ease your anxiety or ease your I don't know-ness, that it's okay that you don't know. Right. Yeah. But just know that it's possible. Like, if you could just start knowing it's possible and be at ease with the fact that it is possible, and you don't have to know how necessarily right now, just that sense of relief and knowing that you don't have to know how is a really good place to start.
Well, to that point, since I'll cap it off by saying, since I've given her so much promotion this week, Cappy Pidwell with her Mindset Code book, I think you and maybe I'll have to bring Cappy on a future one of these, Elise, because I think you and her would both really resonate. But one of the things as I was reading it, I thought of Elise. I thought, this is Elise to a T, is when she talks about why so many people have a struggle creating the reality they want, because her big thing is about how to manifest and stuff. She says that instead of saying, I want to be a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, when you're not deep down, her thing is changing the wording to, what if I could imagine myself being a millionaire? Or what could I do if I could imagine? I'm not wording it properly, but it was like,
I could put that into a mind seed, right? I'm totally open to being a millionaire.
Well, and hers
that's
is
different than saying I'm open, right? I could be ready to be a millionaire if I knew how.
Yeah,
right?
well,
So
hers
you're
is almost
easing yourself in.
I'm open to the possibility that I could be a millionaire or something like that. But however she words it, and it's a psychological thing she's doing to you. It's changing you from saying, I'm already a millionaire, which is what we've all been taught is how to manifest. Just
you got the little voice in the back of your head going, you're full of crap.
Yeah, well, you're saying,
and that voice
I'm a millionaire. I don't need to worry about money. And then you're going to the store, like trying to count out your change to buy something. the two don't compute.
It's full of resistance. It's the
Yes.
resistance.
Yeah.
Right?
So I like what she does because it's very similar to what you do, Elise.
Oh, thanks, Corey.
Opening your mind to the possibility, and then also the opening your mind to, I believe that you believe I have the possibility of being a millionaire.
That's a mind seed.
Right. That one step removed, where when you have that manifestation or that belief that's so far from your reality, it's going to activate all of your nervous system into that fight or flight freeze, right? Because you're like, it's bullshit. Like, it's totally not true.
Right? Yeah, right, lady.
Right. All of your upper limits, your paradigms, your limiting beliefs come up. But if you can just open your mind to the possibility. So I'm opening my mind to the possibility that I could at some point in time become a millionaire. Or I believe that you believe I could be a millionaire.
That's a really good one. I like that. It takes the pressure off. So there's a frequency that we carry, right? There's a frequency that we hold and that can hold us from. Mm-hmm. So I love this. I love anything is possible when I believe it is, right? Anything is possible. If I believe it's possible, it's possible. And so that's, again, I call it easing in to being and becoming and attracting.
Totally. Yeah.
Amazing.
Because
I know you have to hop off, Corey.
Yeah, I don't mean to interject. I just want to make sure I break away before I start getting the messages saying, where are you at? When's the start? And how come it's not live? So, Katherine.
I double booked. Just say it like it is.
Yeah, 100%. Well, yeah, I mean, there was an overlap. So, Katherine, I appreciate you. I adore you. I think the world of you. We'll wave the flag for you. We'll call it a to be continued. And I just appreciate you for being here. And you're in good, capable hands with Elise. And I'll let you guys go until you feel you're done.
Yeah, we'll hang out for a little bit more, find out where we can reach you.
And I'll circle back via messenger, Katherine. But thank you once again.
Thank you.
Have an amazing conversation, everybody.
Hey, now I can see you in all your beauty. We have more space together.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. I love that the whole taking the pressure off. It's very it's really, we're all going for relief. I talk about this a lot. We're just going for the sense of relief, right? Yeah. If I just have the perfect relationship, or if I just make this much money, or what am I going to feel? I'm going to feel relief. I'm going to give myself permission to let go of some of that resistance. So when you're working with a client who you recognize has a lot of that, right? Because resistance is energy, right? And that's heavy weighted energy, and that takes up space. What would maybe one perspective shift you would offer aside from I know you believe that I could, right?
Yeah. So such a great point, because so the language that I use with my clients is, does it feel expansive or does it feel contractive? So expansive is anything that feels like that relief, that release, that life-giving. Could be joy, love, abundance, vitality, happiness, and recognizing that for some people, those feelings might be a little bit more intense than they're used to. So it could be for some people that they're used to living in a state of contraction, which feels like fear, worry, anxiety, stress, anger. It's that fight or flight. And so we do a lot of work with using the tool of noticing. So starting to notice when you feel contractive, when you feel expansive, because when you notice, then you have a choice, right? Because all of us have patterns. We run patterns. And for the majority of people, they're unconscious. They're just kind of like under, they're just like right in our unconscious or subconscious. And so when we start to notice, then it actually creates more space for us. And so the first tool that I work with people is to notice what you're noticing. And so noticing, I notice I'm feeling, fill in the blank, whatever it is that you're feeling. And then we actually work with recalibrating your nervous system. And we do that through specific types of breathing to help you move from that fight, flight, freeze down into the rest, digest, create. And so they'll notice when they're feeling constricted, right? Angry, anxious, sad, reactive, that they can notice, they pause, and then they breathe. And with that, and there's in through your nose and out through your mouth like a straw, just in whatever way feels good to you, because we're all wired a little bit differently. And so when you breathe in, you can feel yourself like, oh, you just like sink right into your body, and it's a message that you're safe. It sends a message to your nervous system that you're safe. And so when you're trying to create, and it's all energy, right? It's all energy. When you're trying to create, it's all energy. So when you're trying to create a new result from an energy that's given you your current results, they're not on the same channel. If you're calling in, you want like, you know, passionate love, or you want freedom and flow in the financial realm, or you want health and vitality, and you're tuned to the channel of like, oh, well, all the good ones are taken, or, you know,
that's the station you're going to get.
That's the station you're going to get. And so noticing, the first step is really noticing, like, what am I tuning to? And then how do I actually change the channel? And it's all energy. So how do I actually come from the energy of whatever it is that I would love to create and manifest in my life? And recognizing that it's not like you just flip a switch and you're done. That's not how it happens. It's a process. And I loved what you shared about, you know, people can go to an inspirational event, come away, they're all like motivated, but inspiration without action is just entertainment. So
yes, and it actually can make things feel worse. Totally. Like I already went to this event because I knew that there was something I wanted to change, but I don't know how. When I host an event, when I speak on a stage, it's always interactive. We'll do a tapping session. I'll have them at the beginning pick something that you do not want to take home with you and you and want relief in. So by the end, we'll do a whole session and I will help them calm the amygdala and give them a tool, something tangible so they can feel the shift as opposed to now feeling more full of anxiety. And I'm speaking for myself because I spent before I, you know, got into this career and into this part of my life, I was experiencing that. I'd go and I'd be like, I already know that there's things I want to do. Like just give me the tangible, like I can apply this in my life right now and be the driver and the master of my own, you know, my own relief, really.
Yeah. And that's really what being a catalyst is about, is about helping people become that main character of their own story.
Right.
And I can absolutely relate. When I was younger, just feeling like my life, I knew it sucked. It was horrible. And I knew I wanted something different, but I had no idea. Like I had no idea what that was. I had no idea what it would even look like or feel like. All I knew was that what I was experiencing sucked.
Right.
Like this
sucks. I just wanted to unsuck.
Right. And I wanted to unsuck, but I don't know how. I just know that this sucks. Right. And I don't even know like what that other thing might look like, or that it's even possible for me. Yeah. It's yeah.
But that's a good, I mean, you have to know what you don't. So and that's another thing too. Like people are like, you know, they're so stuck on, I don't mean they generally, but when we are, and I'll include myself, when I'm stuck in something, I'm able to now look at it and say, oh my God, this is so awesome. Because if this is really pissing me off and this really sucks, there must be something, whether I know it or not, that I know doesn't suck, because otherwise I wouldn't care.
Yes.
It wouldn't suck. Like if it was just whatever and it was in a state of neutrality, there would be no sucking and unsucking, right? But because it sucks, there must be something that I know deep down or in some way, shape, or form that is better for me, or I'm more connected to than this, because I wouldn't be feeling this crappy if not.
Totally. It's the contrast, right? And Abraham Hicks talks about that. It's the power of the contrast. And so, you know, language that I use is longing and discontent. And that's how we connect with the life force that's expressing through us, is through our longing and discontent. And the discontent is like, this sucks. Right? Wow, I've sure got some clarity on some pieces that I would not love here.
Yes.
Yeah. And I love that, being able to lean into this is the good news. Right. And then also,
I know that something's got to be better, because this really stinks.
Yeah. And then the other thing that happens, and I am, you know, I'm sure you know this, is that as we start to expand into greater results, so greater happiness, fulfillment, alignment, joy, more financial freedom, greater health, more love, we're living in a life that we haven't known yet. And so it can actually trigger us to constrict into the familiar. And it's like that devil you know is better than the devil you don't, right? So I know, like, yes, this sucks, but at least I know what the suck is like. Whereas when you start to feel that like greater, like freedom and flow and ease and joy and fulfillment and all
doesn't always feel safe.
It often doesn't feel safe. You know, and when people climb, I had a client telling me about her stepfather who climbed Mount Everest. And that the way that you actually do it is you climb up and then you come back down, because you need to give your body time to acclimatize. So it's the same thing when you're working with these greater results. You want to give your nervous system time to acclimatize. And so, Gay Hendricks talks about this with the upper limit problem. So as you achieve that greater result, you're going to notice yourself kind of feeling a little bit like, ooh, right? Because you're using the tool of noticing where you're noticing. You're feeling
right.
So you slack it off a bit. You don't slack right back down to where you were, where you started, right? So you kind of grow and then you bring it back down. This is my new normal. And you actually give your nervous system, you give your energy a chance to recalibrate to this is my new normal. This is my new normal.
Wow, that's like that's an interactive mind seat right there. Like recognizing that space. And I know for me personally, and I still see it. And I always say, just because, I'm connected and intuitive and I know what I know when I know what I know, right? There's different versions of us. And I'm sure you've had that experience too. Like when I'm in coaching mode, when I'm on stage, when I'm in hosting mode, I'm connected to a whole, like I have the A team. And then I can step away and then I go through my own challenges. I didn't get a get out of being human free card. Let me just say that,
If you did, you wouldn't be on the earth, right? You'd still be in the non-physical.
Right. Exactly. And so that being said is that one of the patterns that I recognized from an energetic standpoint for myself too. And I always know that we have different versions of ourselves. It's the little girl, it's the 17-year-old. Okay. She was making choices that were not very good. So I took back over. So when we can have that awareness as well, I think that that's really important. And then that body mind, I call it the body mind, right? Like the body will physically respond. So does it and sometimes it'll respond in the gut or in the chest or in the throat or in the head when things are going really well. Well, maybe when you were a kid, things went really well. And then all of a sudden you found out your parents were getting divorced or your best friend wasn't your best friend anymore. And it didn't feel safe for things to be that happy for you anymore. And that version of us made an okay, I got your back. I'm never going to let you be that happy again because you can get the wind knocked out of you, or you can, be sideswiped or whatever with news that crushes you. And so we have that version of us that's always got our back. And until that version of us recognizes that it's safe to get to that next level, to have that success, to be that happy for a long period of time, and it just doesn't come in spurts. I think that that's an important piece, and it has been for me, as I'm sure you've seen it for yourself, because we're all human, and then for your clients as well. So when you do hit that point with your clients, is there like a certain perspective that you could give them? Or I don't want you to give away your secrets, but is there?
Oh, yeah.
I know. I mean, but I'm always curious, because I know what I do with my clients. I know what I can do for myself, but I think that that's important that, people recognize that when you work with somebody as wonderful as you, that you do recognize those points in their lives that, wait, maybe you're stuck here because this is where you're stuck and this is what we can do.
Yeah. So
because you talked about feeling safe, and I think that that's the piece.
Yeah, safety is so key, right? And recognizing that. So, so I integrate lots of things because, like, I have a master's in counseling, I do NLP, I do coaching, I do other stuff as well, energy stuff, and so it kind of depends a little bit. But the way that I start to work with people is we start with creating a vision of what you would love for your life. And I love, Jenny talked about this, right? That most people spend more time planning a holiday or a long weekend than they do actually thinking about what they want for their life. And so many of us can get into this pattern where, well, these are just the things you do. You have a partner, you get married, you have kids, you have a job, you work, you pay off your mortgage, you die, like, right? So there's these ideas that we bought into, and we're just, for many people, just going through the motions. And so the way that it starts to shift is you notice the longing and discontent that either this sucks, and it could be that, that loud, the discontent could be that loud, or it could just be this like feeling of like, is this all there is? Like, is this it?
Mm-hmm.
So you're tuning into that, and then we start with creating a vision. So I ask people, what would you love for your life? And we actually future pace it 3 years into the future to help bypass the subconscious mind. Because the subconscious mind, if you say like in 6 months, it's gonna be like, whoa, we never did that before, nothing's gonna change. And it starts to put those blocks up. So when we go future pace to 3 years out, the subconscious mind, which is where all of those limiting beliefs, all your operating systems exist, it kind of relaxes a little bit because it doesn't quite know what's possible. So by doing that, you start to get more into what is it that's seeking to emerge through you? How is life itself seeking to express through you? And so it starts with connecting with, well, what would I love? And we look at the full spectrum. So your health and wellness, and that's your, your mental, emotional, spiritual, physical health and wellness, your love and relationships, your time and money freedom, and your vocation and creative expression. So it's this complete picture of, if you had.
So basically you step into a new you. Oh, I love that. I just.
Yeah. Yeah.
The magic wand.
Yeah, a magic wand. Like, what would you love? And then, so we create that vision of what we would love. And then we start to learn how to become the energetic match. So we start to learn how to tune our frequency.
It's very Joe Dispenza-esque.
It's like, yeah, Joe Dispenza, Deepak Chopra, Abraham Hicks, Bob Proctor, Wallace Wattles,
all of it in there.
All of them, right? All of them. And what I love about it
is you as the catalyst.
Yeah, as the catalyst, right? For other people to light their spark. And so when you start to create that, what happens? And this is, I love the deliciousness and the simplicity of this process. So it's simple, but it's not easy.
Oh, so girl, you just resonated with me. I'm always like, it's simple, but simple's not always easy.
It's simple, but it's not easy. So as you start to really connect with the energy of the woman living that life, how it feels, how you're showing up for yourself, how you talk, what you think, where, all of that, you're really trying it on. Anything that is not a vibrational match will by design come up for release and repatterning. So all of the subconscious limiting beliefs, all of those upper limits, all of those agreements that you made to keep yourself safe, they will emerge. That's why it's designed that way. They will actually emerge because you can't have love and, fear of love. You can't have them both.
Right.
One or the other. So as you start to tune to this is going to come up and say, hey, come back down here. This is familiar. This is comfortable. This is our normal. And so we learn how to actually repattern those. So knowing that that's actually the good news when that stuff shows up doesn't feel like good news, to be clear. Sometimes it just
it sucks.
Honestly, it's hard. Been there, done that still, right? It's not like, and if any coach ever says, oh, I've got it all figured out, they haven't, right? If we're on this planet, we've got stuff to learn. So as it comes up, being able to train yourself to recognize that this is the good news.
I love it. I mean, right there.
It's there
like anyway. It's already in your cup.
It's there anyway. Now it's actually into your consciousness so you can make a different choice about it. And that's when it's the noticing, it's the pausing, it's the breathing, it's the helping yourself feel safe in your body. And then it's connecting to a different frequency of energy. And so then the energy is either your vision of what you would love or gratitude. Gratitude, because gratitude is the vibration that's in harmony with abundance. And if you think about abundance, a lot of people think it's just material wealth, but it's all things. It's health, it's love, it's joy, it's expression, it's fulfillment. So abundance, you want a more abundant life in all areas. And so when you learn to start to tune your nervous system, your body, your energy body to the vibration of gratitude, you then become a vibrational match for greater and greater levels of abundance.
Dang, girl. Mic drop. And that's how it goes down with the catalyst. Yeah. Okay, so simple, let me ask you this.
But not easy. Simple, but not
simple,
easy.
But it's not easy. And I'll also tell you this, just ain't that easy either. People are like, just do this, just do that. Listen, if I was just going to do it and it was that easy, I would have just done it, right?
Totally.
Like, just ain't that easy either. So simple and just, it's not that easy.
Yeah, right. Because all of this information is out there. And if we could do it on our own, we would have already.
We would have just already done it.
We would have just already done it, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
You know this. That's why coaching is so important to have, because the only two ways that you shift that result for yourself, one of two ways. One is with a strong emotional impact, and that could look like a crisis thing, like a health, divorce, or a failure or something like that, or a structure of support with space-time repetition to instill that new operating system.
I love that. So how could somebody get in touch with you to start that process?
Yeah. So here's the thing. I am committed to people's transformation, and I'm not attached that it's with me. So if it's really about finding the person.
I was going to say it's about resonating and feeling safe.
Totally, right? So it's like you find a therapist, you find a doctor, you find a hairdresser, you find a a pet groomer, pet sitter. That's definitely want your pet sitters to be good. We want all those people to be good. But it's about the person that fits with you
and who you resonate with.
And so if what I'm saying that you're like, oh, I just feel like there's something there, listen to that. Just connect with me on social media. I always do a complimentary clarity call with people. And it's really
I call it the residence call. Do we resonate together? Right.
Yeah. Totally. I love that. Right.
Yeah. And so is it Catalyst or is it Katherine? How would they find you on? Because I know you have the Catalyst coaching.
Yeah. Catalyst Coaching or Katherine Loranger. So I'm on, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, website, catalystcoaching.com. Yeah, they can connect with me. And then I also have an event coming up on October 16th.
Oh, what is that?
Oh, it is a full day virtual. So it's live virtual. It's a vision ignition immersion. So when you talk about the two ways to shift your mindset, it's that strong emotional impact. So that's what that day is about. It's really about some framework, some understanding, and then really, really connecting, creating, getting clarity on that vision. And then understanding 3 steps that you can take right away and apply throughout your life to start to shift your results. It's also
how could somebody find that event? Is that also on your social media?
On my socials as well. Yeah, it's on my socials.
If you just put all that information in the comments, I know Corey's got you all over LinkedIn and all that. I am, holding space for the Blue Talks Flip Your Script group on Facebook. So I just want to make sure all that information goes into the comments there as well.
Yeah.
For people who are hopping on and kind of finding their resources there.
Yeah.
And I would love to also have you on Flip Your Script Friday as it continues to roll out. So Flip Your Script Fridays are every Friday, or they have been every Friday. The retreat has taken up has held my space.
Passion project
since December. Well, it's really more than a passion project. It's one of those inspired, was guided. And there's a whole story behind how Manatee Landing Retreat showed up in our lives, and the seed that was planted we hold space as a coach. We hold space on stage. We hold space. I'm very interactive. I love when somebody actually has an experience, because I believe that it's the experience that somebody personally has that makes the impact and the change, because it's personal and it comes from their perspective.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really recognize it at the time. I always had an Airbnb that I ran, because I love to meet people if I wasn't traveling. And it was always just kind of grew on its own. It was always busy and successful. And I became a super host. But what I didn't recognize until Manatee Landing Retreat was birthed during the pandemic was that really that is my calling. That is my purpose, to create destinations and create opportunities for people to come and have a personal, right there, hands-on, fun-filled, adventure-filled flip your script experience. And so that's what Manatee Landing Retreat is in Weeki Wachee. So it's kind of held my attention, but I do love the Flip Your Script Fridays, where we bring on incredible people like yourself to help plant seeds of perspective, to help individuals who maybe overly focusing on trying to get rid of what they don't want and have lost sight of what it is that they really want to create in their lives. So to plant these seeds of perspective that people can maybe, piggyback on or take or plant in their mind, instead of these thought weeds, to help them start to grow that interactive. Okay. Yes. You can create your life. You can change your life. You can make different choices. Well, let's lost me already. It is how it feels. So, but every Friday, starting in January again, for just a half hour, quick little bites, not a whole hour and a half, half hour, hang out, plant seeds of perspective from incredible people who have flipped their script in their own lives. So I'd love to have you on the show. It's right on the bLU Talks Flip Your Script stage, and people can come and comment and ask questions, and just they leave that half hour, start their weekend with these new seeds of perspective that they can start planting in place of the thoughts that just aren't working.
I love that, right? And that really provides that space-time repetition as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think about it, like I'm just about 50, I'm just shy of 50. I've had 50 years of having a certain thought pattern.
Exactly. Like a habit.
And so is that going to shift in a month? Probably not.
Right.
I'm going to start to see shifts, significant shifts, but really it's that space-time repetition. So I love that. And different messages, right? Different, because I can say, and I love doing group coaching. It's my favorite, because people get so much from each other. I can share it, and then someone else shares it, and it's like, for other people.
Right. And we were more in the habit, and every Friday I would say, please share your mind seed, in this interview on the group. So I'm going to ask everyone, whoever is watching now, any of our incredible thought leaders, coaches, and guides that we've had on this week, please share your mind seeds in the comments underneath your day, right? If you were interviewed on day one, because sharing the mind seeds also keeps that going, where people can hop on and say, hey, this mind seed resonates with me. I'd like more of this in my life.
Yeah.
I also created the Flip Your Script band, which is a physical reminder. And actually, I'm going to take ownership of it and talk about that every single time. And these are available. I'm going to find a place to make them specifically available for people to order. They're like $2 a band, but they're game changers. We hand them out at our retreat. These are our magic bands. We hand them out to the kids, and we say, listen, if you can think it, it can show up in your life. And so that keeps the consistency going too, that, if you have a thought and you're recognizing it's a pattern that's not working, and I wouldn't grow that in my garden, you take the band and you flip it to the other side, and you start to learn how to flip your script, change that pattern in one's own mind. So I'll be happy to share the Flip Your Script bands for anybody who wants it. Just leave your name in the comment, and I can get one out to you as well. But yeah, you have been amazing. Hanging out with you and getting to know you better. I'm not sure where Corey is, but who knows? Maybe
That's
he's
okay.
listening. It doesn't matter. Again, so please leave your information in the comments below. That would be awesome. And then let's stay in touch for sure.
Yeah, I would love that. And I want to hear more about living in an RV, because my husband and I, as we lean into what would we love, we're like, you know what? I think we'd love to just travel around in a fifth wheel for a while.
Yes, we could talk a little bit about that until Corey comes on. So here's just like coaching, like people are like when I hear people are like, oh, I want an RV. The first question, this is the first tip that I would suggest, or the first seed that I would start to plant is, how do you want to travel? People don't think about that. People are like, oh, this looks cute and this is big and this is luxury. But how do you want to travel? Do you want to see places that you haven't seen before? Right? Do you want to just park your RV and maybe an RV park and leave it there for a couple of months and have a car and be able to like just check out the area? Do you want to be able to get into your home and drive it? Right? Do you want a fifth wheel where, you have to be careful where you pull in? You may have to make sure there's a place to pull out, because backing up a 40-foot fifth wheel is not an easy feat. And I don't know a lot of people that can do that. So, it's things that we don't necessarily think about. Like the idea of RVing is cool. Even if you have a 40-foot, class A, that's really big. I driveway surf. I'm here in Maine at my sister's house, and I'm able to park in the driveway, and they still have enough space for their car, and I can plug in, and I have my own private space in my private home, but I can still be here in their home. So I love driveway surfing. I love meeting people and being able to pull into their area and just needing a 110 outlet. Yeah. So that's my sweet spot. So thinking about how you guys want to travel, then there's memberships, there's Thousand Trails, there's Passport America, there's Harvest Host where you can boondock. So there's different ways of seeing the country.
Yeah. Yeah, we're up in Canada, so with the border stuff, that's a bit of a thing. We have actually had a couple of Class C's before. We had like an older one that we co-owned it with friends, and we like shared it, which was super fun.
And that's smart.
Yeah, nothing
that's
like
a really smart way.
The amount of times that you use it, right? Yeah, so that was super fun. And then we also had we bought like a newer Class C with a couple of slides. But we're thinking, because oh my God, this is what I love about what I do, is what would you love? Not what have you done before, not what do you think your family thinks you should do, not what is everybody else doing, but like, what would you love for your life? What makes you come alive? And for him, he loves working overseas. So he's worked in like Africa and Dominican and Chile and Mexico, and he loves it. So I'm like, well, then I love that for you. And all of my work is virtual. So thinking, a fifth wheel, because looked at looking at the different layouts. I do podcasts, I do coaching. So having like a separate
fifth wheel would be perfect for you, because basically it's like a tiny home.
Totally. Right. Yeah. And then have kind of set up, for a couple months, because his rotation is, potentially 2 months away at a time. And then when he comes home, we kind of do a little bit more exploring.
You got it.
Yeah.
You already thought about it.
Oh, we've totally been. We've got the models we're looking at, the year. Yeah. But that's
that's exciting.
Yeah, it is. And what I love is really leaning into possibility thinking in all areas of life.
Absolutely.
Right? And for people listening, in whatever it is that you would love to create, like what would it be like to really, really lean into possibility thinking for yourself?
Exactly. I love it. And I love that you thought it through, but in going through your process, you recognize, right? You have to think about, how do I want to travel? Like, what's going to work for me in this new venture? And because I know the industry and I know what it's like to be full-time RVers. I mean, we full-timed, my fiance and I, for about a year. Well, we're still in an RV. We have a 31-foot RV. We bought the property next to this old motel that we bought. in Weeki Wachee, Florida, that we revived and turned into what we call an everyday retreat, where you can come and retreat from here every day and kayak and swim with the manatees and be in these beautiful natural springs. But we really just wanted a place to pull the RV in after when we were traveling to call home. We really didn't find just that spot. But what we did find, because the possibilities are limitless, is that spot, and it came with a motel. So we bought this 5-room motel that just needed love, needed an infusion of a new vibe. And we have the RV spot that's right next door so we bought both properties, and we bought a larger RV thinking we were going to travel. So we have the 31-foot with a slide out, and that's our little tiny home. Yeah. And then I have the 24-foot that we've been traveling in, where when I need to go and I'm doing projects and I'm traveling, I can take her and be mobile.
That is super fun.
So it's worked out, and we just chose to be in a 24-foot RV with 2 bicycles on the back, traveling all over the country. So, I mean, that's a very different choice than having a 5th wheel and being able to park it and having a car.
Totally. Yeah. And also with him working away and me, like podcasting and coaching and a smaller space, like I would love a dedicated office space. And then when he, at some point in time, we might do a smaller one or something different. And we also love, getting out in the boondocks where other people don't really go.
Exactly. And having a 5th wheel is perfect because you do have that front that you can use as an office space, or the back. I mean, it depends on the layout of the 5th wheel. Yeah. But well, let me know when you hit the road and when you start traveling, because I am always up for a visit somewhere different, visiting people that I haven't met before. And I know that we're in the middle of the pandemic, but that too shall pass. This global plot twist is changing and shifting.
Yeah, exactly.
So, well, I know that we're going over time, and not sure where Corey is, but I'm going to say thank you so much. And we're going to stay connected for sure. Please put your information and contacts in the comments below. And we will definitely continue the conversation at a later date. And until then, just be you.
Thank you. So lovely to connect.
Yeah, same here. So I'm not sure how to end because I didn't start the whole thing. So why don't we just see if we can just thank everybody together for being here today. We're going to be back, Corey and I, tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern time with some more great guests. I guess she left the show. So I want to thank everybody again. It's been a great show today, Corey. Thank you so much for being here. I'm not sure if we are going to disconnect us, but I will see you tomorrow. And again, just remember that anything is possible when you believe it is. Thank you.